we've had a bit of a fast forwarding here in time as Team Assault pick up their third round on the trot, as they are looking pretty good on the defense. Just that previous round that you might have missed out on was number 4. It was a victory for Team Assault on the double bars objective. So now we go ahead to the next round, and we're back to Kitchen in service, just as we saw this same site in round number 2. You'll remember that one, Scott, as having a little peculiar situation between Mr. Callum Keegan and the last man standing for Team Assault on the defense. I believe in that scenario it was Gunner. Want to make a comment on that one, Scott?
From the round that we were round 4? Are you talking about round 3 on Billiards?
Round Kitchen, where Callum Keegan had many free opportunities to kill Gunner R6 on Twitter.
Yes. Unfortunately, was incapable of doing so because, one, reinforced shield in good positions. Gunner winning a fight off of a flash grenade, then completely removed his eyes. A bit of a Kali Ma situation, except for instead of a heart, your eyeballs. And should I say a mountain situation from Game of Thrones? I don't think that's removing it. That's really just puncturing it. But yeah, I mean, when you think about it was a good show, though. I mean, when you think about how that round ultimately went down and how Gunner was able to stay alive, it seemed like a bit of a miracle, but I don't necessarily want to just categorize as that. I think Gunner had good positioning, knew what he needed to do, assumed after the first flash went through and did manage to blind him that there's probably another one coming. I need to get ready. I need to push, wait for the audio cue of that small metal tin canister hitting the ground and push up with it because it's going to flash no matter what. That new update, really debilitating when it comes to that. And I think they did exactly that, and that's where they found success, and Gunner was just able to pull up and do so, and also pull up and do so in this round as they managed to take out Tones as that first entry pick about 45 seconds into the round and set up Team Assault once again for a man advantage going into round 5.
That was the one piece of information we had from the previous round. It was Gunner who earned the opening pick on round number 4. He'll do so again here on this Kitchen side. And Asian tag teams as well as they take out Eddie, which is a curious change, bringing in that Flores. Poison searching for the angle. Spots one. Gunner just positioning a little bit of foul there as he didn't realize that maybe there would have been a player out by the quad wall. Maxilli looking to maybe deny an immediate push in. That's not really the plan for Mystic. They aren't looking to just challenge into the site now that they've gotten the pick back and their man advantage stands at just 1 against them. Jackal track comes through. Maxilli maybe in another universe would fall back, but that's not really the player that we know him as. He's the aggressor in many scenarios. Spiff doesn't go for the full clear. Player hiding inside VIP. The Jackal having a bit of trouble, but he does correct it eventually for the kill onto Felton. JJ is dropped by Ashen. Here comes Maxley moving in, though. There's no flank drone, and Spiff, clearly occupied with something else, is distracted enough for Maxilli to work the pick back now into the 2 versus 2.
Yeah, with the last 50 seconds remaining, a 2v2 is a bit of a dangerous position for Team Assault to be under. They've managed to win the last 3 back-to-back, have not let Mystic really put a foothold in past that first round, and obviously they're starting to take a little bit of a beating despite the very nice start they had at the beginning of this one. You do see Poisons pushing up, does manage to find out one, and Ashen steps up and capitalizes on Maxilli as well. So finally, Mystic will manage to find themselves yet another round. They're going to be taking round 5 and now heading back into round 6. We will see it's a 2 to 3 score difference, and Mystic really need this next one to be able to capitalize and tie it up 3-3 jumping into the defensive side. We've seen this level of play from Mystic. Talk about last map where we saw them having to kind of play on the downturn in that first half on the attack, and then once they switched to defense, it was a near perfect 1-round deficit sweep of that second half for them playing defensively. And I think maybe that just might be how this map will go as well. It's hard to tell because from what I've been seeing, Gunner's been playing extremely well. Maxley has been aggressive and playing to tugging at the heartstrings of me as a caster and watching them and enjoying them play. And I think that can continue in a map like this because you can play this on the near exact same playstyle of a roamer on the attack. You got to roam anyway. You got to clear their roamers as well. Get in the mind of your opponent, play like them, and catch them where it hurts, which is going to be probably some of these quarter hallways, security down below, office as well. Aquarium's a great place for attackers to push. That's where your defensive players can play into. There's a lot of viable options that for both sides to try and contend against. I think one of the biggest aspects we're seeing right here is that we're seeing an Amaru come up for Eddie. I love Amaru on this map. I don't like her anymore because Amaru's very unfortunate rappel that comes up where she can grappling hook up to the roof. Not as viable as it used to be to catch players on that unfortunate roam game they do on these south and north corners, these corridors, because, well, like you mentioned earlier, Stick, a giant concrete or metal slab up on top of those wooden banisters makes it almost impossible to get a crossfire angle from the top of the roof.
Yeah, I think the way that I would describe that is using the Gara hook to immediately get up on the rooftop and then bait for the angles through the corridors there. Addy will try it. He goes a bit quick, but he'll soon realize that his options are a little bit less so, but Smoke, if he falls back, he might go through. And he does, but Eddie is slow to the punch in a rare miss scenario, even with, being armed with probably one of the better weapons for that scenario. JJ is given a second chance, second lease on life. And another little fun fact that I think is a bit relevant to mention here is Feltwinter actually played in the first grand final that I ever casted here for Unified. That was way back in actually the summer 2020 finals. So he's sort of the old head that's got the experience here, but don't mistake his experience and his tenure as not being a player who can heat up and can be a real gunner.
I think that would kind of be a big misclassification for any of the players on these sides. Each one of them is gunning fairly well. Doesn't seem to be any players necessarily lagging behind. JJ may be considered that, but as we know, JJ is a very strong player in the forefront of all competition. Plays extremely well, and already finds themselves their second kill. As soon as you talk about him, takes out the gunner of Ashen on the opposing side of Mystic, and a 4v5 is officially in effect with a minute and a half still remaining. Mystic are kind of at their wits' end now. They need to find a strong way to go forward, need to make sure that they have a safety net to step inside without losing their lives in the process, and obviously Spiff seems to think that direction is coming in from Aquarium, as Eddie is on the Repel Ruin side, going in from that billiards window, big window, and attempting to maybe catch a sideline towards any of these players that may be sitting back inside couches, billiards, working towards maybe catching one player off guard, letting, maybe stopping Maxley from that attempted push coming in from the eastern edge from his side. Obviously, there's a lot of points of contention to work with, and at this point, they need to stop losing people, which they're unable to do. I mean, Asian finds one more into Tones, a 3v5. You do hear your Gridlock utility go down as their poison will officially start to play at the lunchbox, but still floor holes down below. Toxic Bait will be tossed, forcing him to take a step back. Eddie attempts to go for it, but Felt finds the kill instead. A second now dropping to poison, and Spiff is caught from the side by Maxley. Team Assault will find not just a victory in this half going up 4-2, but will find a flawless one at that to finish off this half.
Well then, Team Assault definitely looking good on the starting defense. We'll see them transition now here in the second half and have a crack at if that continues in the same regard. Here we come from Team Assault. They bring the Lion and Ying in their composition. I've seen this quite a lot from them, and honestly, I was kind of surprised that we didn't have as much Lion played in the first half with how spotty it was to keep control of the roamers. There was plenty of moments thinking about the kitchen attack where there's so many defenders all across the map and you're trying to whittle them down, but they're just constantly fluid in motion, and without the Lion and a ZE1D, it's hard to track them down and keep them in one spot. Thinking to a position where that might be relevant was in the kitchen attack in round number 5. Gunner and the rest of his team, they got 2 opening picks, and then it just kind of sort of slipped back. The offense had some moments where it just felt like the defense were running roughshod, and I think maybe we could have seen them rack up a couple more rounds if they had played that a little bit better and thought to bring the Lion earlier on. Either way, Team Assault, we don't have to wait much more to see what they will bring. Is there a player ready to peek out from the sunrise window?
A big possibility. If you're thinking about a team that's going for spawn peaks, it's going to be Mystic, right? I mean, Ashen's even bringing a player that specializes in spawn peaks. The MPX with a 1.5, the mustachioed man of Warden, who's the Ned Flanders of the world, comes forward and is attempting to kind of play with it. And yes, Warden does have a lot of viability. His utility with his 6 shades, his gamer shades, as some people call him, as I like to call him at least, can stop flashes, can see through a lot of smokes, can be a big boon to a defensive presence. And obviously, they know that they used flashes pretty successfully against Team Assault's defense, maybe not against Gunner. And I think that was a smart decision, as you do see Gunner picks up that Ying. The Warden, huge counter to it, but you've got to keep Ashen alive, which has kind of been a flaw in the last 2 rounds that we've seen. Ashen's been taken out way too early and needs to try and contend the other direction. Ashen does find Gunner, though, the exact combo I was talking about. Doesn't even need the shades to do so, but Felt refracts back, taking out Tones this time around, and Eddie's fighting for their life, trapped in Sunrise Bar, just spraying, trying to stop one player from stepping. Dangerous position. Spiff will find one onto Felt. E1 does go down, and Blast JJ finds the kill onto Eddie. A 3v3 made quickly to a 2v3 as Maxley finds Spiff, and just Poison and Ashen left standing. Who, facing basically the world against Team Assault, make it 1 as Poison is the last man standing as Ashen tagged out by Asian. A minute and 43 seconds left, Stick, and we're still down to a 1v3 at the end. Immediately finished off a very swift round, not even a minute and a half necessary to get the job done.
That was a lot of pace behind the offense there coming out from Team Assault. They didn't even need the Ying. She drops down the opening death against Ashen, and the attack, they just keep on moving forward in a really excellent showing that puts them within 1 round space of being on match point to tie back up this series. Blackbeard being brought in. Wow, that is a controversial operator pick by Gunner, and I imagine if he is unsuccessful with the Blackbeard, Mystic are definitely going to let him know about it in the chat. I'll say viewer discretion is advised here because both teams have definitely been letting it loose a little bit in the all chat.
Yeah, there's definitely some words, some gums flapping, and it's not just the casters here trying to talk about and digest what's going on. These two teams are at each other's throats, quite literally in the fact of shooting each other consistently throughout the rounds, and also trying to get in each other's heads with this all chat, and I think that it's definitely working to a degree. Mystic definitely got in the head of Team Assault on map 1, and I think it's kind of being flung the other direction as Team Assault are starting to kind of frag it back in return, you know, throwing some hate in the other direction, and really just kind of saying that we're putting our money where our mouth is, and we're going to try to get the ultimate amount of money as they attempt to try and take home that $1,200 prize pool. But obviously one map behind still, and if Mystic manages to lose this, we could absolutely see Chalet being played here, Chief. Chief, thank God it's not Chief, Stick. We could absolutely see Chalet being played here, Stick, and I think that would probably be my favorite thing to have. It would be interesting to see Mystic sweep a 3-0, but I definitely do want to see Chalet.
Yeah, I was hoping that we would get out of this game one of those reverse sweep scenarios. Those are always the most fun best of 5 games to cast. But unless Mystic have got a few tricks left up their sleeve, it's looking like Assault will tie the series and put us into, what is technically a best of 3 from there on out. Z-Ping's constantly going down, should be on the position of the Alibi waiting here inside office, but Team Assault don't really have the manpower in position to try to clear this out. They've sent a couple members in up above to the penthouse area to try to make this the next arena for their offensive push through. See some Selmas crack on now, and I imagine it's probably going to be one of the hard breachers that you see the most, being able to bring that, Aqua Breacher utility to get open some of these hard walls, which are a little bit more important now in the current meta, but also still pack quite a mighty punch with that AK-12 will become more and more invaluable as the meta develops on one of the big change maps. Felt will use that AK-12. He gets a little bit of a boost here from the, not the caster's curse, maybe the caster's, I don't know, charm? What would you call that, Scott?
Blessing. It would be a blessing in disguise, right?
There we go.
I think that's the way to do it. It's Caster's Curse curses me too often anyway, so it's never any point of contention to mention blessings. But Asian in a firefight with Eddie will come out on top, and AJ's in a bit of a firefight himself. Does have to pop the E1E, does narrowly miss the opportunity of being taken out by a Nitro Cell tossed in the opposing direction as Flashes is starting to get tossed through as well. Unfortunately for Tones, though, Felt is waiting for the opportunity to find the kill, and Team Assault are looking to make it yet another flawless round as they take round 8 in quick succession. That's quite a few rounds in a row. The only round breaks that we have seen so far is between round 4 and 6. They took 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and now 8. 3 and 3, and now hitting match point. No more possible. Will we see the 4th in a row from them to break that weird 3-3 streak they're going for. Well, Mystic attempt the full reverse and attempt to try and make it back on the defensive side. Stick, from what we've seen from Team Assault, they're living up to their name quite literally when they're attacking.
Yeah, this was sort of what I saw in that first round attack back on Clubhouse. I felt like they were going to be able to snowball a little bit forward. Obviously, in that scenario, it didn't happen. Mystic really were on top of their defensive game on the previous map, but on this one, aren't having as much luck. And to be honest with you, sometimes that just is the way that amateur Coastline plays. You have to be able to constantly gun against your opponents, and there's plenty of opportunities for the attack on Coast to be able to isolate some of these angles and really get a strong pinch on the defense. One of the big examples you'll see from that previous round was the player who started out at the Aqua Bar, was trying to skirmish with the Lion of JJ out on the Aqua balcony. Once he realized his Nitro was gone and his chances of holding that position were pretty slim, he went to retreat. He tried to fall back, but as he was sitting at the hookah objective, he was found out by the AK-12 through that little wooden bar. And that's something that can be... You got to be aware of that to the defense to a certain extent, because a lot of times Coastline is kind of a CQB style map. If the attackers have got the better angle to work against you and you're sort of flustered, you're rotating, you're trying to get away from one attacker, but you mistakenly walk into another, that's just the unfortunate reality that plays out over here in Ibiza. A spawn peek attempt. That's risky in a match point scenario, and Asian will definitely voice my concerns with the question mark as well. That is an odd play to make.
Yeah, like we mentioned earlier, really just gunning at each throw, getting in the head of your opponent. And a nade that was tossed there by Asian actually almost did kill the player that was pushing out from that outside balcony edge. Ashen was attempting to go for it. Now extremely low. The MX4 Storm really not much to contend with if it continues to go like this. Asian is looking for the opportunity, pretty aware of the player being there, but it does look to be that Ashen will step back away. Now going towards security, has a possibility of a sideline, but we've already seen that fail once before. So in all honesty, it'll probably flutter out just like we've already seen once. But Mystic in a bad situation, stuck between a rock and a hard place, a player down, and 4 rounds down at match point, staring at the gaping maw of Team Assault now as they're continuing to begin their assault going forward. Ashen's trying to contend one, stepping down through kitchen service, did actually manage to tag Gunner just a tad bit through that soft wall, but in all honesty, if you're not able to get the kill, it's not really worth talking about, because Ashen extremely low, still alive, and still plenty to work with as we near the last minute and a half, as half this round has officially been going through. I'm hoping to see Team Assault continue a level of dominance. It's been spectacular to watch them play, but Mystic needs to pick it up and start working in the other direction.
I bet Mystic are wishing that they had maybe a Thunderbird or possibly the more legal operator of Doc at the current moment, with 2 players on low HP, and Mystic really starting to feel the pressure. Maxilli will come through with 3 kills, and Fellwinter will do it for 1 more. As what an acceleration there at the final round of Coastline as Team Assault, they storm through.
A very spectacular round as well. I mean, there's not enough hyperbole to go forward. They look great, they feel great, and that's exactly what you need to have in this situation. There's not any better words for it. Team Assault was an entirely new team when it came to that map. They just looked better, they felt better, they played better on Coastline. And whether that's because Coastline is just a map that's favored towards their playstyle, it's hard to tell, especially for a map that I had speculated that we were going to see Mystic be extremely successful on the defense because their innate ability to go for those spawn peaks, the innate ability to play that roam successfully, and we just saw none of that. Literally all of their attempted attempts to go for that, with Ashen going for spawn peak, Tones as well, denied, shut down, removed way too early in those rounds, and you'd think Mystic would have evolved at that point and said, hey, let's play our own game. Stop going for these aggressive peaks. Start sitting inside of the objective and turtling up. But no, none of that. We just saw them continuously play that aggressive assault. And I'm sorry to break it to you, that's Team Assault's favorite thing to do, apparently, as they slaughtered them in that second half.
Yeah, they were really brutal. A lot of very quick pace behind the way that they played on the offense, and I love the fact that they just brought in this Lion, and it felt like Mystic, being a pug stack, they wanted to play that very aggressive, constantly, on the move, I guess you could call it maybe guerrilla warfare style of defense. Didn't work against the Lion, and there was just better gunning from that second half performance for Team Assault. They were looking a little bit lackluster, I'll say, second half on the first map of Clubhouse, but they transformed into a complete and utter animal there on Coastline. We have Villa coming up next as the, well, third map here in series. That'll be Mystic's pick, a map that they are prepared to play on and probably have got a little bit more of a reputation on, but we'll have to see if they are successful or if this will be Team Assault striking back for 2 in a row. We'll find out that answer as we get on to the Italian map after a short break.
Welcome back, everybody, to some more UPL action here for our finals, and obviously we've got a bit more of a matchup, as I'll just continuously do that. We'll go back and forth with it. As you do see, Team Assault was managing to take round 2 in an even more lopsided scoreline than we saw on map 1, which Mystic took. 7-4 on map 1, 7-2 in favor of Team Assault for map 2 on Coastline, and obviously, like you talked about, the French map of Villa is coming up next for map 3. Is that correct? Am I incorrect? Italian?
French?
The foreign map. the map not here where I am right now is coming up next, and this is kind of a different beast than both Clubhouse and Coastline. Spawn peaks can be very plenty, and I'm sure Mystic will attempt to go for those, but it's also a very large map with big wide open hallways and lots to work towards. So Sticula, what are your predictions going into this map?
7-3 Mystic.
I'm running it down.
Let's write it down, ladies and gentlemen.
7-3.
Quote me on it.
I'm gonna say 7-5 Mystic.
It's just like sort of a Price is Right here. You got to be on it or below. If you go above, you lose.
Yeah, we'll do it that way. If it goes into OT, or if it goes like 7-6, it's mine. If it goes 7, what if it goes like 7-4?
Maybe we have Mango decide.
All right, it'll be like a coin flip. We'll do it live. What does the winner get? Respect. Because we don't gamble here. So they're going to get respect on the name. We already got respect on the outfits. Looking snazzy, of course. And now we're going to get respect on the names, hopefully. So obviously, ban phase officially has to go underway. Stick. I don't think we're going to see anything too shocking for the ban phase. I mean, we haven't really seen anything shocking on any of the other maps. So try and true. Probably Thatcher could see a... maybe a Maverick, maybe an Ace taken out. Defense, probably Valkyrie, probably Mira.
Maybe if Gunner ran Blackbeard more on the previous map, they would ban it here. I feel like that could be like maybe a little bit of like a meme target ban. It'll be Jackal that they remove, which was present. I feel like maybe not so much on Clubhouse, but it was definitely seen in a lot of the rounds on Coastline, just because you got to hunt down the roamers. Villa is sort of similar to that, similar towards that, almost said Italian map, Spanish map over in sunny Ibiza, as Milosh the Medic likes to say. We'll have Valkyrie banned out as well, which is not the most common on Villa as compared to something like maybe Club or Coastline or maybe even Consulate, but the Valkyrie cameras are always a pain. You don't want to spend the whole round looking for them, and something I always say, IQ, her role in the meta currently is really slim, so just banning that out, make sure that you don't have to worry about it too much, and then you'll have the Cade removed as well there, which is an interesting sort of counter look to the Thatcher being banned out, because now you will probably not have much bandit tricking. Very rarely you'll see that kind of on statue, but more so it's always going to be the mute that gets played.
Yeah, and obviously with the mute nerf, there's a lot of viability for it, but not really on this map. You kind of need to play towards the top sides, and you can't really repel on an inside reinforced wall, so it's not really that useful for him. So I think the right decision. I think it's a good play here, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think the Kaid ban is a smart decision, because I personally think Kaid is one of the best bans you can have on this map. It stops him being able to play and have a really strong hold when it comes to hunting vaults towards that planes and gains objective. It obviously stops him from placing it up on the I believe it is the rafter section on those cross beams when it comes to the statuary objective, and it obviously can have a little bit of play when it comes to your tertiary objective of dining and kitchen. It kind of makes it so you don't have to worry about Memo as much, but it's still definitely going to be a problem. That objective is just... it's probably going to be something that Mystic and Assault both really like, because you can kind of just rush in and sprint into it. It's one of the 3 main attack styles you can play with, as more and more banter goes through into the chat. Sticula, I know that you went through the dregs of console leagues and playing console. You guys didn't have text chat then, so I guess the banter is an entirely different beast. How is that Switch ban? I know it's been a while, but how's that Switch ban?
What?
The switch from console to PC.
Oh, well, I guess the one point that I would say about this, nobody will get this reference, but there was this console league called CEL. Some of my diehards will remember it. The toxicity in that Discord, man, it was wild. It was like the frontier of Siege. There was no rules, and that was where you went to get your anger out. When you couldn't do it in the game chat, you would do it in there, or you would do it in the pre-game like voice chat when you're in the lobby, and you can just you can chat all of that out. You mentioned something about not being able to repel and hard breach on a reinforced wall. Hate to break it to you, Scott, but you can rappel down from the skylight and you can hard breach the memo
actually, no, I
wall.
thought they removed that.
No.
Nope. For a while, you were incapable of doing so on this map after the like 2 patches
Pretty
ago.
sure I did it
They bring
once
it
in
back?
the rank game as a troll.
I mean, I've done it before, but I remember seeing it on Reddit. I mean, Reddit could obviously be lying to me. I don't trust
Reddit is
in the first
Reddit.
place. But yeah, there was big complaints for a while. I actually got quite a few votes that it was not really working, that they had kind of like silently removed it. So maybe that's the case, maybe it's not. Ultimately, we'll have to see whether or not that is the case. But first kill ultimately drops in Felt's favor, taking out Poison. A sneaky little tag shot from holding in from that study doorway, finding one on the outside veranda. And Eddie's looking for an opportunity to get rid of that reinforced shield, does just that, and almost removes JJ's life from the situation as well, as the Rotero drones will come up and start to wreak havoc on any and all of these Team Assault defensive presences as these reinforced shields are being systematically dismantled.
Very systematically, they are being removed with the Flores drone, and Maxilli will take some shrapnel, as well as frag grenade will detonate. Feltwinder has not given up the position on the study stairs. That's a big problem for the offense, as Ashen looks like he got a little bit sleepy there, forgot to check the angle, but Spiff, lucky he be there, and he trades him out. So that will not go unpunished in the scenario. Got one prone with the shotgun. JJ is a sliver of HP, but all it takes is one fouled movement. And that'll be Tone to make such a movement as he gets taken out, and a second is sent in as well. Spiff for the follow-up as a flashbang in pocket, but now Toxic Gas will force him back. And look at this, JJ tries to go for the reinforcement, but Spiff somehow manages to work the angle. Gunner for the swing finds one. He cannot get the second there as the recoil's a little too much, and so now Spiff in the 1v2 has to make an ace, but he won't get it, as it'll be Asian who just manages to tag one shot, and that'll be all that's needed.
A very successful round. Obviously, the attack started to get something working for it, and ultimately just kind of started to fall apart. The Mossberg laying down prone inside of games made it a little bit more difficult for them to push forward. You said the slightest misstep would spell a demise for this Mystic attack. And that's exactly what happened. What was a positive boon in numbers ultimately started to grow slimmer and slimmer until ultimately they were in the negative and ended that off in the negative in that 2v1. So Team Assault taking round one in a pretty big manner. They're going to head over to the trophy and statuary objective. And this is the part where we talked about the Kaid, or at least I talked about the Kaid being exceptionally strong, not available. And instead, they're going to be playing for that mute that you had mentioned prior in a Tachanka, the Lord himself coming out and rearing his beautiful masked head, and hopefully this will be enough. I've actually seen Tachanka get played on this objective a fair few amount of times, and it is quite successful in doing so. The Shamika launcher does a great job of fireboxing out a large portion of areas, makes it difficult for somebody in Master Bathroom to actually hold within. Maybe needs to jump inside the hot tub, which then puts them in danger, hide in corner pocket, step back towards actual walk-in closet. A lot of viable options, but that Shamika launcher can cut off so many rotations and so many angles for an attacking team to step up and try to make a play.
Well, earlier on Coastline, you called me Chief, but now I'm going to have to turn the tables and call you Chief, because it seems like he's always preaching the religion of Tachanka as being sort of this Lord of Siege, but I guess I must be some kind of R6 atheist, as I don't really buy into that Russian club.
No, I mean, it's just the meme, right? It's just the standardized meme. Oh, did you not play R6 at release? Is that not what you did? Like, you late to the game?
Believe me, I was there.
You not on a Reddit?
The Tachanka avatar on PS4. I bought the avatar.
Oh, wow! And yet you still do not refer to him by his given name.
I've grown out of it.
SMH, ridiculous. But obviously, I'll tell you who's grown out of something. It'll be growing out of this round. Tones, who is now no longer able to grow. His push stunted, you could say, as he attempts to step inside, completely denied by the Team Assault. One player was near, and a second was even further behind, ready inside planes, or aviation, as you would call it. And as the first minute officially starts to dissipate out, one kill having already dropped is a pretty big bonus to this Team Assault defense.
Certainly is. We'll hope them to help them to hold out for a little while longer. You've got a player prone at the triple wall on the penthouse side, or the master bedroom side, I suppose, which is not something you see too often. This feels like sort of a Feltwinter play, though. He's always hiding somewhere, and popping up when you don't expect it. And maybe that'll be Poison who falls into that trap. It looks like he's rotating over to try to X-Kairos open up the triple wall. You have mutes, though, which I presume are probably in position at the triple wall, so unless Spiff gets an angle from over by Sofa, this could be a problem. They haven't sent someone below yet, and so getting these mute jammers off just might be a reality that never happens. And if you don't open the triple wall on an attack like this, and you're already in a man disadvantage, you know, I can do the math for you there, Scott.
Yeah, I'm not good at math. You know, that wasn't my specialty. I only took 2 classes for it in college and hated both of them. So, I mean, it's something that absolutely has to go forward. But it looks to be that Mystic are really wanting to push in through, get through Master Closet, get control of the Master Bedroom. That's typically how most attacks tend to go, but we haven't really seen that this much in this round. I think that's kind of where the math doesn't seem to add up. You do find finally that Mystic will get a man advantage, but they still have to contend against the Launcher, a good Tachanka player, and that MX4 Storm with a 1.5, and they had one more to worry about. They had to worry about the 416C, but the nade will make it a little bit more difficult. JJ goes in with DP27, can't get it done. 15 kills Eddie, but it doesn't seem to matter until Felt finds one more into Poison. Spiff and Ashen are the last 2 standing. They have a general idea where the player is, and Spiff is lying in wait, pouncing at a moment's notice, finds the last, and Mystic will find themselves a round win.
Gotta love that little play by the Nomad. She's behind the defender's own shield, and that'll push them to victory there. Mystic, I gotta say, great way to recover that, especially Ashen's nade from below, really solidifying that they were in the driver's seat there as they went to close down the round. And I gotta say, Team Assault kind of dropped the ball a little bit. They opened themselves up to a lot of picks, and I could do with going back on a replay of that round to see where a lot of the issues came through, because it seemed like it was kind of a problem of the positioning, maybe you could say, where Team Assault weren't working together and didn't play as reserved as they might have wanted to. And, you know, despite the fact that the triple wall never got open, Mystic didn't need that, because Team Assault gave themselves up to engagements that they shouldn't have done. Let's be fair. I think a more passive defense there in the late stage would have, you know, maybe allowed them to have a bit more benefit, but hey, I mean, that round's in the past, and we'll go to the reattempt, so Assault have got a chance to right their wrongs.
I think one of the biggest factors was their really extended presence in Master Bedroom. Obviously, one was holding reinforced wall by a master bathroom, and another was lying down prone underneath one of the southernmost window portion inside Master Bedroom, and those two got fragged out a little bit too early, and immediately afterwards you had a problem of your Tachanka player JJ, who got a long shot crossfired against as he was inside of Trophy, as he was attempting to fight one, did win the one, but ultimately didn't seem to really matter because there was too much of a presence in the opposing direction, whether it came from Astronomy or elsewhere, and that's where Mystic just took control of the objective and was essentially playing a post plan without the diffuser actually being down. They were defending the objective they were just originally attacking. So I think it was a very smart decision by Mystic. They played that spectacularly, and Team Assault's positioning and playstyle just was not suited for the attack that Mystic brought to the table.
Look at you. Budding color commentator Infernosis. Got the breakdown for
I gotta grow sometimes, Sticula. All right, we've all gotta work on our things. All right.
Well, Mystic are putting a lot more focus, I think you'd say, on the Master Bedroom slide this go around. Less of that pressure from Pig. Here goes Ashen, hops into Bike and knows that Gunner is lurking somewhere on the red staircase, having a bit of a decision-making moment for the Aruni, who will decide to come up from the pantry side. Don't think anyone from the offense has set up any flanks for that position. You would hope that Spiff eventually launches an air jab to lock this off. Maxelli still working the Mozzie from over by Mudroom, and so far Mystics seem like they are a bit hesitant to fully commit to clearing below. Ashen is hoping that Gunner comes up on the flank, but that never materializes, as Felt will now take out Tones, I guess, just fighting that. Love the little message there from Asian as well. Definitely the shot back that Assault needed in the chat. Eddie is back on the LMG, as we so commonly watch him use. Long angle created. The triple wall has been opened at a pretty decent speed so far. Still, you have some Aruni gates to deal with, but this is shaping up decently well for Mystic, just so long as they can finalize the kill against Felt, bring the man advantage back to the 4 versus 4, or perhaps find a kill somewhere else on the trade. Max Hilly will finally show himself, mentioned earlier in Mud, but Ashen is just unexpected.
Yeah, the offsite presence that Team Assault was bringing to the table might have just been a little bit too much for Mystic to chew, and obviously it's starting to fall apart even further. Maxley gets a TK, not sure why, but Gunner's there to clean up where necessary, takes out Poison as he attempts to step through triple wall, and Eddie does find the head of Gunner with the LMGE, and now needs to push the player hiding inside Astronomy, decides to go with the aggressive stance, does take out Asian. JJ and Max, they are the last 2 left standing, and Eddie, who's not at full HP, sitting at about 65 to 70, has to contend with 200 HP worth, actually 200 plus, 200 about 45 HP worth for this Team Assault defense. He's got to step in from Astronomy. He has 2 outlets he can go through. He can step either through Trophy or Statuary, and decides to use one of his concussive blasts inside of Trophy. Notices that there's no one in that direction, as it did not immediately go off, and instead will use the reinforced shield hiding behind the objective to work for his favor. And instead, now dropping Lunchbox, Maxley steps through Surya Gate, attempts to peek around the corner. He has to stick it, and Maxley will just take the Ronin to the rear of Eddie and find themselves yet another defensive round win.
Well, that round, towards the end, it looked like it kind of had a couple of the same issues from round number 2, where Team Assault kind of get a little bit too loose, and they don't, pull the slack out until the end, where it's a 2 versus 1, and Eddie is really kind of the player that you always want in that clutch scenario. He's got to make the decision, push for the kills, or try the plant. You can't fault him for going for the case decision. Fortunately, it doesn't work out, but it's still a pretty close result, I think you can say, for Mystic. If there was something there that you would have picked apart and taken away from the Mystic push, what would it really be, Scott? Because for me, it feels like maybe they could have done with a bit more foundation below. It felt like they were very, hesitant. Okay, let's send one guy in, but we don't really want to have everyone downstairs. Do you agree?
Ashen's death obviously from Mud Pit, right, when it was taken out from Maxley, it was probably the biggest deficit you can have, because having that player below is extremely strong, and they were not able to abuse that relationship of having that verticality, and that was ultimately one of their undoings. But I think another major one was the fact that they weren't able to get a strong enough presence in Astronomy early, and was not able to, I guess, situate themselves to actually push through triple wall. Yes, they got it open, which is something they did better than they did, I guess, in round 2, but take a look at the round differential. They won round 2, but they ultimately failed in round 3. So there is a huge negative to say for Mystic's attack in that round, and it's the fact that they lost a verticality player, and they didn't have that option, and they ultimately were incapable of actually managing to push safely through that reinforced triple wall. So Sticula, I think if they have to do something different, and they are given the option to go back to that objective at a later time for Team Assault, I think that the big difference they have to make is probably putting a better presence on that outside Astronomy window to help them step in towards that side while setting up a crossfire through triple wall.
Onto the tertiary site here for Villa. First time we've seen this so far with that little double try on statue. I would say the most notable part of this has got to be the ability for Tones to play with the Iyanas. Ashen constantly being involved in the opening engagement, it feels like. It feels like he's always kind of getting found out. That was not the case on Clubhouse. You'll remember, he had some really huge plays. Felwinter is just walking through. He's just walking through top red. And Eddie is not prepared. And it seems like Mystic really have trouble getting their roster in tow. It feels like there's a lot of plays that are happening on the fly, which, I'll say this is a pug stack, so you don't have a lot of executes or, just really attack strats in general that are well prepared or are kind of, things you've orchestrated ahead of time. And sometimes you'll spiral into a situation like this, which draws me back to what we saw kind of at the close of Coastline. Team Assault had a lot of rounds where it was very definitive, it was very flawless, you could say, and here we go again.
Yeah, blink and you would miss it kind of round, obviously speaking. Flawless. And heading into round 5, I think there's going to be a big factor for Team Assault having a mental gain a positive in that round, the mentality for Mystic is probably a little dampened. And when you look back at map 2, that was a big factor as well. Team Assault was the team that was getting trash talked, spoken to in map 1, and turned it around and started tossing it back the other direction for map 2. And Mystic really hasn't had a great return for that, and it's really starting to drain on their mentality. I think that's also starting to show a little bit through the cracks here in map 3, especially when you get flawless rounds like this. I think we've seen 3 or 4 flawless rounds, and I think only one of them have been in favor of Mystic. The rest have all been in favor of Team Assault, and that's just something that you can't let happen if you are Mystic. It's such a demoralizer. It's not what any fan of Mystic definitely wants to see. And Team Assault, they're feeling very positive after that, and I would be very shocked if they're not going to continue the trash talk to try to keep getting in the heads of their opponent.
I don't know what to talk about, because that last round was just like
too quick.
Mystic didn't get anything started. Like, gosh, that was really
I'll
not a
bring
great round.
I'll bring a question.
What was that?
I'll bring up a question, right? Because I'm genuinely curious about your opinion about this. Now that we're back on Plains and Games, which we had seen as Team Assault come out on top for this, and unfortunately, Mystic had the upper hand at the beginning of that round. There was the early pick onto Poison that came through from, I believe it was Asian or Felt in the first round that they played, but the very swift attack from Mystic that they took control of this staircase was really pivotal for them to actually push forward. The only issue was the fact that the Mossberg prone player who just denied any entrance around that corner from Lamplight. So since that was such a failed attempt from the last time around, do you think they're going to push that same way this time?
Not necessarily. I think if they just do it a little better, perhaps they're more prepared. Just from the get-go, you can see they're pretty much all stacked up right below. It doesn't look like they're going for any kind of like a master overtake so far. You do have the Mira, which I believe this is the first time that we've seen her come into the composition. She might have been played last round, but she didn't do anything, so who cares really? And her impact is felt. Mystic recognize this, but they will just, you know, start off right from the get-go and begin to clear that. Having the buck is always helpful here on this site. And wow, there's a player coming outside of the 90 window. That is a brave play by Maxile, but perhaps he misjudged the amount of time he could be outdoors before being, you know, detected. I mean, it gets the Flores though, right? So you lose your Jaeger, who's like that place and forget operator, and you get someone with 4 explosive drones, and okay, the round is over.
Hey, Stick, do you ever think I'm going to get the option to cast the second half of a round? Or do you think it's just going to immediately end in the middle stages? I mean, I've been feeling good about this time, and they've completely stopped me, ceased my ability to actually be able to cast an ending portion of a round. But congratulations once again to Team Assault. I mean, that was a very successful round for them. Even though Mystic started getting a couple frags, started feeling a little bit better, but ultimately Team Assault, they're continuing to get in the head of their opponents. You can see it already right now. They're calling it out. They're mad. They're angry. They're down bad. They're down atrocious, as me and John would say, and then immediately hit a sheesh. You know, there's a lot of words and terms and vocabulary to classify what Mystic really is right now. And I think the ultimate one is they're on a downturn. They need to figure something out. They need this next round. This is a make it or break it round for them, in my opinion, where they need to take this to stop Team Assault from going 5-1 in this half. And if there's any way they can do it, it's probably on this objective. The one we've actually have seen them win before, and they won it in a pretty swift margin where they kind of flipped the map, flipped the objective on Team Assault, where we saw them in a 2v1, have control of A and B of Trophy and Statuary, and forced the last player, who I believe at the time was Maxley, if I am correct. I may be incorrect about that. Forced them to have to play into a retake, and they didn't even go for the defuse. They just shot the players who stepped in. That's all Mystic needed to do because they were in control of the situation, but we have not seen any semblance of control for them so far. It's like trying to pick up sand and leaving your fingers spread apart. They're not going to be able to hold water in their hands and hold themselves up, and they're drowning in the competition against Team Assault.
What are you doing over there, building a sandcastle or something?
Well, if I want to have fun on the beach, Sticula, okay? A man can dream.
Oh, look at this. Here comes Tones. He's flying in from the 90 window. And he might just walk right into the objective. There's the smoke, but JJ loses it. Tries to go for the flick 180, but Maxilli is there to trade out his teammate. That's got to be a frustrator for JJ, just to have the Amaru appear at the site, and look at that. Good kill, baby. That's a great way. But, I mean, Amaru for the smoke. We had this similar situation last round where it was the Flores and the Jaeger, but this time, I don't know. I don't think I support it as much because, let's be honest with you here, these rounds have not gotten very close to the late stage execute for the offense, so your smoke doesn't matter as much given that. And here we go again, as it's only 2 players left. It's your flank watch and your hard breach, as your entire fragging, potential is pretty much gone out the window.
Yeah, your forefront of your entire setup has been removed, and I think Team Assault's done a good job of that in the last few rounds. It's been something that they've been super successful with, and to just put salt on the wounds, Asian is going to go ahead and go for a team kill. Why? Who really knows? But Gunner's been taken out. Now he's just spamming through camera options, just enjoying himself as he waits for his team to win. And Felt will manage to find Poison. Now it's just Spiff left in a 1v3. Could have been a 1v4, but obviously some separate opinions were made in that process. And I think if there is any one player on the team of Mystic that could do it, it's probably none of them, in all honesty, because they're getting slaughtered by this side of Team Assault. And that could definitely change as they switch to the defense. We saw that in map 1, but we expected that same result in map 2, and it ultimately didn't come to fruition, and that's kind of been the weak standard right now for Mystic. They're not what we want to see, and I'm sorry to break it to you, Stick. It doesn't look like we're going to see Mystic come anywhere close to that win that we were both talking about. We do see 1 kill does drop. Spiff finds another onto Asian. Maybe speaking too soon, Caster's Boon or Caster's Curse, whichever you want to classify it as a 1v1 comes through! Spiff through the mirror, Black Mirror finds the kill! Question marks on the chat. Mystic may have just got their mojo back.
Oh, what a round! What an explosive one, man! We both kind of have egg on our face now. You said Mystic weren't gonna get the win, and I said Mystic didn't have their fragging potential anymore. Jeez, excuse me. Sorry, didn't have the foresight to see that Spiff was gonna go huge. But yeah, we have a good comment that I'll bring up here. Our producer says, "What a throw on the TK."
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, Scott, how did we have 20 rounds, 7-4, 7-2 on the first 2 maps, and now it's like this first half is TK central? I mean, what, have Assault shot their teammates 3 times?
They're toying right now. It's like, I want to phrase it in a way that can kind of make sense. So what Team Assault is essentially thinking it's a cat and mouse. They're toying with their prey. But what it's really turning out to be, especially after that last round, is it's turning out to be a dog and a bigger dog. Nobody bites harder than a corner man. I'm sorry to break it to you. And that's where Mystic came through in that round. Spiff bit hard, bit back, and found all 3, and ultimately kind of makes Team Assault kind of look silly out there. I mean, you can't go for that TK and then ultimately lose a 3v1. That is pitiful and really just not a good look in general.
Yeah, that is. It seems like Team Assault are kind of having some fun in this series. I mean, the first map was pretty serious. They looked like they were a little bit kind of worked up, but, the second map, 7-2, it was really quick. And now this one isn't looking much better either. Mystic have 2 rounds. The one that I remember the most was that statue round where it just went on and on. I think honestly that statue round was the one that went the longest because the offense. Now I'm remembering this. Wasn't it the one that came down with the player on the case plant? I might be wrong there. I think I might have swapped around, but either way, we're here in the second half. Poison continues to bring that to Chanka, we talked about earlier. You've also got Ashen bringing the Mira as well, and it looks as though for the first time, Team Assault are going to bring in the Master Overpush.
Possibility. Obviously, the Gemini Replicator just watching, waiting, a bit of a situation. Maybe one of those FNAF moments where he's just in the vent waiting at that moment's notice. But a 5v5 in effect. 1 minute has passed. No one has yet to be killed, which is probably a big bonus to the fact of Team Assault managing not to pull a Mystic, so to say, on their attack, and ultimately losing their lives a little too early and starting a bit of a downturn when it comes to the late stages of the round. And I think that's probably the largest factor for a gain for Team Assault, their ability to keep themselves alive and play to their strengths. And I think that's probably what's going to lead them and edge them forward towards a probable map win. And I'm going to go ahead and say it, Stick. The tweet has gone out. Unified has called us out. They marked our 2 predictions, and then they stated probably about 3 or 4 rounds into this map that Team Assault would win. So I'm going to go ahead and call it. Unified Premier, I think they're cheating. I think they know. And they're calling it a little bit too late. So I think that's one of those situations.
Yeah, I'd like a do-over, please.
Yeah, we'll wait till map 4.
Didn't foresee this. Didn't see this happening as Team Assault. Even though they're not taking it the most seriously, with a few TKs here or there, they're still winning rounds, regardless of that fact, against the pub team here of Mystic. One thing I'd like to bring up as well is Maxilli has brought in the R4C, which is not the most common weapon to see for the Ashe player, but Max, I think a lot of people know him for his mechanics. So far, though, it's not really the player who's having the largest impact in this round, as the rest of his team is really contributing. And man, Mystic don't look a lick better here on their defenses than how it was earlier in the game. Shumika goes out, but it's off target, and JJ, it continues to get the plant down, and now the second flawless round in the game for Team Assault.
So map 4 win? Map 4 win? I mean, that is probably the question on Team Assault's mind. That's probably the best thing they could say in this situation. Yet another flawless round? I mean, come on, right? This is a huge factor for success for them. They're just winning gunfights. Mystic doesn't know how to fight them. And that was something that I called completely opposite in map 1, where Mystic, specifically Ashen and Tones, who were trying to play. Oh, no, don't call out the oh, man. Ooh, salt in the wounds for sure. But in map 1, we called out Ashen and Tones. They were the players that were so aggressive on the defense and just won all those 50-50 gunfights, which were ultimately more in favor of 90-10. That's how much of a slaughter it turned out to be. And it's been the complete and total opposite since then. They haven't won almost any gunfights since then when it comes to those extended roams, because yes, you need to set up crossfires and you need to position yourselves to gain that advantage, but you do have to put yourself in a risky situation to do so. You need one player to actually push against one other. That extended roamer, they also need to be able to watch their rear. You talked about it earlier in map 2 on Coastline. You talked about that roaming drone, the flank drone to watch your rear, and we just haven't seen that at all right now from Mystic when it came to their attack. And even here on the defense, we're not seeing it. They're falling apart. They're extremely flustered, and I think they're just waiting for map 4. I think they kind of need to realize themselves onto a different map and try to find success where it may be had, and it obviously just isn't being had on this map.
Mystic really need an opportunity to just take a deep breath and think about the way that they're playing right now. They have got to work together. It feels like maybe that's not been happening to the utmost. That is a strength of a pub stack, you know, one player being able to be just a solo army and to, you know, defeat your opponents on the fly. But Siege, after all, it's a team game, and Team Assault, it feels like, kind of have gotten that unlocked so far in this moment, as they have been able to continuously isolate Mystic, you know, whether it's the way that they play against positioning on the earlier defense, just holding out in certain spots and fighting back against them. I have to say, I don't know if Mystic were totally prepared for this style of siege to be brought against them. It feels like earlier, you know, when I talked to Poison before the game, he felt very confident that they were going to come in, they were going to pug stack, and they were just going to, you know, play without the restrictions that normal, you know, kind of comp siege brings. That's not always a good thing, and here in the second half, it feels like it really is not working out too hot, and if Mystic can't figure out their problems in 2 rounds' time, we could potentially be talking about the future of Chalet.
And to be frank, I want Chalet. It's going to happen at this point, and I love Chalet, and I'd love to see how these teams face off. But unfortunately, Chalet's a very attacker-favored map, especially in T3 and T4, and it's probably going to go more like Coastline Wind. And oh my god, the sheer amount of utility dumped into Astronomy was more than the stars in the sky, more than that scope could actually ever find. And a good night. They were managing to find one. They took out Spiff, but he did manage to get one of his own. A Nitro was tossed in the process. It was successful, and Mystic is still a man up. However, a grave situation as Ashen is sent to the grave. Last, JJ finds one. Poison to the inside. Next to Statuary takes out Felt from Astronomy. Needs to move from that position. The Alda is extremely strong, but once the position has been given away, a faster firing weapon can more than likely win that engagement, as you do see Maxley taking in, using the breaching charge, into the floorboards below. Tones' position is completely given away. He needs to find the shot. Can't get it done. Maxley does it instead, but Eddie's there in a refrag, a 2v1. He loses that fight to JJ, and JJ's in a one-on-one with Poison. Can Team Assault take us to match point? A 6v2 situation could be going through, but still the 1v1 has to be finished. Poison not done just yet, and Mystic will find themselves around victory, stopping the bleeding ever so slightly. But Stick, the question on my mind is this gauze or is this a band-aid on the eventful wound that has been this Villa map?
Ooh, that's a big one to ask there, and lucky it be for Poison to just hose down JJ there. It's the battle of the two biggest minds in Siege in T3, I suppose we could say there. But with Poison and his 18th birthday coming up, maybe there will be just JJ left behind after a short while. Tertiary side is here, though. Last time this was brought out, I remember as it being round number 4, and man, that was the most, like, seriously just fast, weird round that we've had so far. It felt like the offense there just beat out Team Assault entirely, and the round was so... I don't even know how to describe it, really. There was just, like, a fight on the top floor. Eventually, Team Assault were just there to defeat the attack. I mean, am I right here? Like, Mystic were very uncoordinated on that round, and it feels like, I don't know if that looks so great now that they're trying to defend this objective.
Well, if you know your enemy, then you know yourself, right? But in all honesty, it goes the old saying, they asked an old army sergeant in the United States or something like that for the U.S. Army, and they're like, what? If the United States doesn't know what they're doing, the enemy doesn't know what we're doing, right? Like, I think that may be what Mystic's kind of trying to do. They're a little uncoordinated. They're just trying to play to their individual strengths, and if that's the way they have to play to find success, then go for it. Play that way. And that one was kind of that way in the second half, Stick, where obviously it was really just Ashen and Tones running around shooting people. And we haven't seen a lot of that because it's just getting shut down. Ashen's at 7 deaths, 1 kill, has completely been getting just mauling, so to say, as Team Assault will kill him every time and then put something in the chat, right? I mean, the mentality for Ashen's got to be abysmal. And I think that's probably a huge factor for why we're not seeing a lot of success. I think the MX4 Storm with the Alibi is a smart decision. Put that in the hands of anybody and they should be able to gun out, and they did just desperately need Ashen to try and close out this large gap and this large margin and just try to bring it a little bit closer.
Here goes Gunner on a bit of a basement search, seeing if anybody from Mystic is down below. Seems like the answer to that query is a resounding no. They'll start to move up the pantry stairs, and Mystic don't have a pulse. So realistically here, Gunner could just sit in pantry for, you know, however long he needs to, and then when the play comes, just explode into the actual kitchen space as well. He'll make a rotate, comes up on another side. Just going to try to walk up the Astro stairs. Mystic aren't really playing this in the most traditional extended way. They are roaming upstairs, but a little bit differently than you might expect. Here comes Gunner, working around the other side, seeing if maybe he can try to punch in from the master bedroom. But my question is, where's the rest of his team to assist this play? As it seems like, where even is the rest of Team Assault? I don't even see them at this point. Are they're just, I guess, going for a horizontal take down below? I suppose that question is answered, but Asian and Feltwinter are found out by that strong roam of Mystic. And that's 2 of your big entry threats that are now eliminated, and so the rest of the team is going to have to start to come through. Ashen will collect yet another kill. Trade is there, late as it be, but Gunner... He can't get through the rotate. He can't get up into bike. That's unfortunate.
It's one of those things that, you know, it can occur and you've got to be ready to do it. Thankfully, there's still plenty of time, right? 40 seconds on the clock, still plenty to work with. And for a tertiary objective like this, where you can kind of play that swift attack, there's still plenty of room, plenty of options to work with. And 2v3 is not a very favorable situation, but it's not something that JJ and Gunnar are necessarily foreign to, especially after the result of last map and some of the clutch rounds we saw on map 1. And unfortunately, the engagement JJ attempted to go for as they tried to peek onto the individual player of Tones fizzled out, failed to lose that engagement, and Gunnar's now the last man standing for his team, has to try and fight, but Spiff is there with the Mossberg, swings the angle, and completely denies any chance of them going forward, and you will see it a match point situation now. Am I correct, or maybe I'm incorrect? Am I stupid? No, I am stupid. Nope. I am stupid, yeah, sorry. I'm so used to Mystic on the defense winning rounds, and I just kind of flipped it the other way because they've been losing rounds. So, hasn't necessarily been favorable in my mind either, so to say, but Team Assault, they've kind of lost their leeway, their wiggle room they had, so to say. And Mystic is kind of being on the up and up again. I've kind of turned things back around. And I've got to say it's probably because Ashen was able to pick up 2 and is 2 kills richer than they were prior and was able to, I guess, slim down that margin of success that Team Assault was having against them.
Well, now we're here for the real test on the Aviator site. This is the one objective that Team Assault have won in the second half of Villa so far. So it presents, I mean, a pretty serious bounty. It could decide the way that this game goes, because if Team Assault do what they did in round number 7, they win again, they're on match point. But if they don't, then Mystic tie the game, which would be pretty dramatic, to say the least, to win, 3 in a row after having such a pitiful first half and really only barely hanging on against Team Assault on the defense, which is, I don't know, a bit of an awkward one. But what would you say is the largest change that Mystic have had since the way that they played kind of in that first round? Is it the way that they're structuring their roam, or is it them just hitting their shots? I mean, what are we looking at?
They turtled up pretty successfully, and their roam game that they had wasn't immediately removed. So it's their ability to keep themselves alive, I think, because when it comes down to the ending of a round and you've got a situation where Team Assault is, even if it was an even man count or even one above, they should be able to turtle up into an objective. Defense has a favorable position in that regard, and they need to be taking advantage of that. And I think they're finally starting to do so. We saw right there, a 3v2. They didn't necessarily have to get greedy. Yes, Tones kind of was waiting for that push to come through from that hallway near Mud Pit, and it did come through, and he did manage to find one, but that was kind of where you need to be. You need to be setting yourself up so that when they push you, you're ready at a moment's notice, instead of trying to push them and just praying that you're putting your crosshair in the right spot, because obviously that hasn't been working in the last few rounds. Before that, that half, or even the last 2 maps, for goodness sake.
Look at this play from Tones. He's prone to the side of the bed. Got to be careful here with how you time that ERC-7. It goes through. Captured by the Mamazi pass. Judging by the way that JJ is playing this, I don't think they know. They don't. He pops up. That's your hard breacher down, and now it's the case stuck as well. Almost threads the pixel angle, but not to be in that gunfight as Felt will strike against the Vigil and put the game back at 3-3. Asian, I almost thought he was a defender here, because this is a really weird spot to see someone, but, as the Nook, sometimes Nooks are just in positions that you don't expect. I mean, hell, it's kind of the idea of the operator period, being so stealthy. And she might decide to walk into Aviation, but it seems as though she's a little kind of indecisive about what she wants to do next. Eddie will move in the midsection of red, but he gets spotted by a drone. That's great for Team Assault. Now they are aware that Mystic, number 1, have a roamer, and number 2 are pretty weak on the bomb site. They'll think about exploiting that, but Felt, he jumps in, thinks about the plant, but then realizes the 2 default plant positions both have exposed angles below. You see a bit of a reaction to that as 2 players go below to try to pursue this player. Gunnar realizes it's kind of clear now, and as the plant attempt cracks on for Feltwinter, he is forced back as an outpouring of Defender utility comes in. Nitro's all wasted as Gunnar will fell Eddie. 2 versus 3. Mystic, can they pull out the clutch to keep that comeback energy alive? Poison taking a monster amount of damage as he's taken out by Gunnar here. The plant We'll see it jumped off, but Gunnar has it in him to get that last kill. A great performance on the Buck, being versatile, knowing that he has to drop down below, but still being quick enough to come back on top. And that'll be Team Assault on match point.
Mystic was just too complacent. There are moments on objectives like we had seen last round, not in the round we just had, but the round prior and Dining and Kitchen, where you can totally turtle up, and it's totally fine in that regard because the zones at which you can push inwards are heavily defended. You've got people ready at a moment's notice to defend those entry points. And for objective like Planes and Games, you aren't as aggressively defending those entries, and it gives Team Assault free entry into the objective. Yes, you were playing below. You had a Nitro to deny the defaults. You had Nitros to throw over the top and work with, but I'm going to be totally honest with you, Sticula. That's not the right approach that Mystic needed. They needed to play that a little bit more aggressively. The second they know or hear that the Buck drops down below, even if it's just to shoot out that corner pocket doorway, they know he's no longer on that floor. Start getting aggressive. Play that aggressive angle. Push that. You need to take advantage of the situations you were given. It was not necessarily a silver platter, but it was a platter nonetheless, maybe a charcuterie board, and they should have acted on it, but yet they didn't, and that leads Team Assault to a 6-4 scoreline where now they're looking down the head of match point, and Mystic has to make 2 rounds back-to-back, which we've seen them do, but they have to do it now or it's game over in this map. We'll have to see how Chalet will fare out, as Team Assault would take it up 2-1 in map differential.
Gotta say that I'm really hoping for the Mystic comeback here. I would love to see the first overtime here in this grand finals. We've not had one so far. But, you know, that's kind of up to them. And, wow, what a play by Eddie as he plays from Garage. And he takes down Feltwinter, who is one of the only 2 players for Team Assault on double digits at this point. Mystic don't have a player for them that they can say, you know, is of that same regard, but there's still time left here in this game, and maybe it'll be the efforts of Spiff that get him up to that big number 10. Otherwise, things could be looking a little bit, well, maybe game over, as you mentioned, without, you know, a super performance from Mystic here. Asian will start to form up inside the bathroom. Thought there was maybe a flashbang, perhaps I misheard. Ashen will jump down. And I think one important piece to note of those 2 rounds that Mystic have strung together here on their defense, they were notably rounds where Ashen actually performed much better. He had a rough first go of it in kind of the initial half of this game, and that was a huge contrast, of course, to his, what was it, 13, 14 kill performance on Clubhouse. And now you'll see him start to step up as well. Perhaps he's just a little bit more uncomfortable on that Aviator site. The pistol comes out for Gunnar. How does he make that work? Ashen, a missed opportunity there. If he had hit the shots crack on. And that'll be him down for the count. So it's left up to Spiff, Tones, and Poison to see if they'll do it again here on the statuary site.
If I remember correctly, Ashen with 15 kills on map 1 and is not even getting 10 less this time around, as Team Assault will now bring themselves up yet another player margin, as you do see JJ taking out an opposing player. I believe it was Tones at the time, and now Mystic are a man down, a 2v3 situation. Gunner's beginning to use the skeleton key, trying to remove out some of these back hallway floorboards. A bit of renovation, as Chief would say, as he attempts to use some interior design points. And sorry to break it to you, but it's really making it difficult for Mystic to try and contend against this objective, as you do see Poison was even taking damage from the skeleton key, as Gunnar just knew exactly where to go with that. Plays to their strengths, uses that teammate information, the callouts there, and is able to set themselves up for a little bit higher level of success now, as Gunnar is attempting to push in towards this trophy side, tossing flashes going forward. Maxley finds Poison in the process, who was trapped inside that corner pocket next to Foxhole. There's Spiff there instead. Blast is there. JJ finds the kill. Long shot over from Master Bedroom doorway. Sees his teammate die, knows exactly where to aim, and that will in fact be Team Assault taking map 3 as well to lead up to 1, where we have to see map 4 come to fruition. Chalet, Sticula, my favorite map on the planet. I'm sorry to break it to you, because you know, our social media manager here at Unify, Jay, stated that he posted that tweet at the beginning. So there are no redos, there are no take-backsies of our bets. So in fact, Unified social media, you get the respect on your name. I'm sorry to break it to you. We do not get that respect. So you might as well change our names right down here to no respect. So a little sad.
Well, one interesting tidbit here is last season's finals, we had a 5-game series between X13 and SH Esports, but within that grand final for the spring season, none of the maps ever went to overtime. And I think for these two teams that we have playing here today, you could say that they are decently well matched, but so far, Assault in these last two maps have kind of been ramping up that aggression, though you could say Mystic mounted an admirable potential comeback scenario. The come from behind victory just wasn't there in the cards for them in the end. And so we step to the next map to see where this series goes, and if we have, a potential 3-1 victory in store here for Team Assault and another chip added to the trophy room of Gunnar and JJ Blastful. But before we get to that next map, the second newest to the pool, actually, now that Bank has been stepped in, I always used to say that, we have a break ahead. So stick with us, don't close this tab, as we'll be right back with more Unified Premier League. Thank you for joining us once again here. We're in the Unified Premier League Grand Final for our beautiful 2021 summer season. My name is Sticula. Joining me here as my partner in crime will be Scott Infernosis, last name, for one more game. If we potentially see this wrap up at a 3-1 result, if you didn't tune in, you weren't here for the last map, it was a fairly odd map, to say the least, to use some broadcast appropriate terms. It was a situation where sometimes Mystic weren't the best coordinated and sometimes Team Assault were shooting their teammates. So
yeah, I mean, that it was definitely something else there, Reese, Sticula, Witherspoon, and I think that now heading into this next map for Chalet, it's going to be a pretty big a specialty of importance when it comes to the attacking game. Obviously, Chalet, when it comes to T3 and below, and most scene besides Pro Scene, Chalet is typically an attacker-favored map. It's the same way with Coastline, but even in Pro Scene, Chalet is typically considered attacker-favorited, and that's pretty strange because a Pro Scene, even in a map like Coastline that is so one-sided as it is down here in Amateur, it's not one-sided when it comes to pros. I mean, it's defensive-favorited, and we kind of saw a glimpse of that a little bit when we actually played that on map 2, but ultimately, Team Assault does what they do best, what's written in their name, and they assaulted the competition, leading them into momentum for map 3, taking that momentum, leading it now into map 4, and hopefully they can try to continue that one. So I'm going to give my prediction here. I think we will actually see Mystic take a W, but I think it may actually go through overtime. So I'm going to call an overtime victory for Mystic. Sticula, what's your bet?
I think Color Sticula and Play-by-Play Sticula would predict two different results here, and Color Sticula probably says 7-3 for Team Assault, but Play-by-Play Sticula says, oh, I don't know, 11-9 for Mystic. That's what I'm hoping for. I want, number one, I want overtime, and number two, I want infinite overtime.
Yeah, so you're also predicting an overtime victory for Mystic. I guess I should have probably been more specific, but I'm going to keep base overtime just because I think I also want to see it, right? I also want that same level of energy. But quick little jump now into this next map, Chalet, my favorite map, so to speak. And I think that with the bans that we've already seen, Jackal and Thatcher being taken out for the count, I think the Jackal's still kind of a target ban. Yes, Jackal is strong, but I don't necessarily think that Jackal is strong enough to warrant the kind of target bans we've seen onto that operator so far. So I think maybe this is because they kind of saw how well Team Assault were playing with that on Coastline and don't really want to give them the option to play with that PDW any longer.
Yeah, I mean, that PDW is a pretty ferocious weapon.
Nasty.
Mira, what was that?
It's nasty.
It's nasty.
It's nasty. I mean, if I can play well with the PDW, it's a dang good weapon. All right, let's just say.
All right.
A little self-jab there.
Self-jab. But we are here on Chalet. Things to think about this map. Hasn't had any changes in the most recent patch of the game, so not much really has gone differently. And I'm dredging through the archive. I don't think I've ever casted any of JJ, any of Gunner's, or any of Poison's teams on Chalet yet. I don't think I've had that pleasure, which is nice to see, because they are some of the most, let's see, forward-thinking players. I don't want to give them too much confidence. Don't want to call them quite, siege geniuses, but they definitely bring an aspect of adaptation into the T3 scene that we don't really have from many other teams. So, hey, that's something to think about. We're going first to the dining room and kitchen site, which is, I don't think it would be enough to consider the primary site. A lot of times teams will begin with master and office or bar and gaming, but maybe Team Assault have got something particularly well curated that they want to bring here. They will bring a couple pieces of bulletproof utility in the form of the deployable shield from Feltwinter on his alibi, as well a bulletproof camera from Asians Rooney as well there. So you will need to keep that in mind when it comes to the clash between bulletproof defender utility and the offense's, Flores drones and Ash breaching rounds. So keep a keen eye on what those are able to accomplish. But, ooh, I thought for a moment maybe this would be a rush from dining. Maxily shuts down Tones, who tried to walk into West Main. I mean, that's not a team play.
I don't what are we watching right now, Stick? I'm genuinely kind of curious. I would assume that Tones would use the Amaru and just rappel up to the window of Master Bedroom. We didn't see that at all. I mean, instead, kind of walked into main entrance. I'm really not exactly sure what we're seeing. And at this point in time, I think Mystic, being a man down, are kind of at a loss for words as well. They're not really at a loss for words. They're typing up a storm between the two of these teams, but I think they're at a they can't really back up where their fingers are, so to say, where their words are. And that might be kind of the ultimate undoing of it. I think they need to kind of focus up and kind of get the job done at hand. And they're kind of wasting too much time sending back a few extra words, hoping to get in the foreheads of Team Assault, because it hasn't been working since map 1. I'm sorry to break it to you. The Twitter warlords that you may be on this roster, it's not going to be enough to get them downtrodden in the slightest. But first kill for this Mystic roster will be in the hands of Ashen, who had a bit of a lackluster performance in the first half of that last map, was able to find the first kill in this one, and for his team at least, by taking out Felt. And Gunner's still sitting over by Library Steps. Very dangerous position, as one is in that outside window. It'll be taken out. Poison removed from the situation by Asian, who's standing behind Piano. Has to be worried about the play coming in from Study's side, but Stick, the minute and 10 seconds remaining, they've got plenty of time for Team Assault to sit pretty and play their own game.
Yeah, and Mystic look, let's be honest here, pretty poorly organized. They have a player jump in from the window at Trophy, but nobody is there to support for a trade. Spiff is still out on the Solarium rappel, and Ashen is by himself in West Main, where his teammate Tones felt. He'll walk into the site, but he's exposed to Asian, and it's the confirm by Maxilly for the triple, leaving it just up to Spiff. And I think my hopeful prediction of an overtime victory from Mystic is not looking the best so far, as I think, map 1 was a decent performance from them, but going into Coastline and then Villa, they're starting to feel a little bit sapped.
The mentality, you have to really focus up, Sticula, right? That's the main takeaway. You have to maintain concentration, and it seems to be that that's starting to wear on both shoulders of both teams. Map 1, we saw them at peak potential, fighting against each other. We definitely saw Mystic at peak potential, where you see Ashen and Tones, like I mentioned so many times, just doing what they do best, gunning, shooting. And they're not able to do that anymore. It's not just because the concentration has been dipping down and they're starting to burn out. It's also because Team Assault have adapted. They've just worked their way into a better situation, and that's hard work. That takes a lot to do. I have to say, in a best-of-5 situation, I'm rooting for the team that can adapt faster than the opposing team. I don't care which team is technically better. I would argue that the Mystic roster probably has a better set of gunners when they're actually able to frag at full potential. However, we're not able to see that, and instead you're seeing the side of Team Assault, a pretty lopsided affair for the last 2 maps for a large majority of them, just be better at killing. They just shoot better, shoot to the head a little quicker, right, Stick? And that's kind of been such a weak point of Mystic, and I think it's starting to become a mute point, as we've just been mentioning it so often, but it's just been such an important part of this Team Assault's victories, and I don't think it's going to stop if Mystic can't manage to focus up and put their money where their mouth is. I think the phrase is, put your gun up, not your funny up.
I suppose it is. And question on my mind, what happened to JJ and his good juju phase, where he was always being very, very nice in the chat? Has that gone out the window? He was doing that for a little while, where he would not talk back to the enemy, or his team wouldn't. I noticeably there, it was Max who was kind of always talking in chat. I mean, even in ranked games, Max was letting his mouth pop, but I guess for Team Assault, that's gone out the window, because their individual skill is good enough to where they don't need the good juju to win games. But another solo play there is Ashen was in like the blue area in sort of by Snowmobile Garage, and it kind of pains me to see Mystic continue to do this, where they have one player go in, on a solo play. This is like platinum ranked level. Everyone does whatever they want, and nobody is like communicating to say what the play is. I hate to say that, but to be honest, Scott, that's just what I'm seeing.
I can't disagree with you. I mean, there's going to be a lot of harsh words that are probably going to be sent towards one of these rosters. Right now, those harsh words are said towards Mystic because we're just not seeing true Mystic right now. I think you can agree with me. We're not really seeing what we anticipated from this roster, and it's really sad to see. I mean, I'm fairly newer to casting T3R6 and T4R6, right? It's been less than a year, and some of the first teams I ever casted were some of these players, right? I mean, and I have nothing but respect for them, and I want to see them all the time. I love casting for them, and this just wasn't what I anticipated. It was not the results that were expected from these players, and ultimately it's starting to kind of fall into place, as Mystic does seem to look a little better in some of these fights, but once they get into an open angle where they don't have any assistance from a teammate, they're losing those fights. As you can see, Asian finds one. Another shot came through to attack another player on Mystic. 2 players downed already from the disadvantage they had. It's a 4v2. Make it 4v1 as Gunnar finds his 3rd, now his 4th, finishing off Spiff. Of course, Poison right there at the end. A completely unsuccessful round once again from this Mystic roster.
I mean, this feels like timeout area right now for Mystic, as, to be honest, they are really not working together, and Team Assault are just exploiting that to the utmost. One of the things that we might not have seen there, because it wasn't really highlighted too much, was the fact that Gunnar and his, I think it was his first kill in that scenario, what he did is he waited until he heard the hard breach begin to detonate on the, you know, the sort of the chimney wall, and then he just walked up to the wall and sat as the breach got open, and then shot a player on chimney after the wall, you know, the X-Kairos detonated and the wall was open up. I mean, what is that? How is that play being allowed by Mystic right now?
I don't know if it's necessarily... I don't think they have control over it, right? I think right now they're down to their primal instincts, right? They're just... Nothing's been working for them, and they're really just trying to pull out all stops. And those stops are probably even worse, right? I mean, Sticky, I know that you play quite a lot. You played quite a few times. When you ever get really mad at a game and you just give up and start going and just shooting, right? I mean, that's almost what it feels like. But at these players that play at a competitive level and play like this, their instincts isn't just to go back to that super primal instinct of just gunning and running. It's kind of just coming down to old strats, old situations, old playbooks. And those aren't going to work against a well-regimented roster like this defensive Team Assault. And they're going to deny it every single time. Yes, it may be something that they aren't anticipating, but they're not going to win that gunfight as long as they have themselves good positions. There's a reason why new metas tend to be meta. They're strong against almost anything an opposing team or other strategies have brought to the table. And that's kind of what we're seeing right now, where Mystic are kind of flipping through the pages of the playbook, so to say. And Team Assault, they're sticking to something tried and true that's working very well for them so far in this match.
Really hoping for Mystic that they can start to turn this around. We don't want to get out to the start that we saw on the Villa map. I mean, where it was just left where we're constantly, after each and every round, asking ourselves, is this going to be the one where Mystic finally dial in and start to, you know, get some more points on the board? Because you continue to let it slip, and you don't have a safety net. Like, you don't have another map that you can fall back to. That was supposed to be the situation on Villa, but now you're on, you know, what could be the deciding map in this series. Team Assault are 2 rounds up, and they have a ton of momentum behind them. Mystic are on the offense, which, when you're looking at, you know, the spreadsheet, you're looking at CHGG, you're looking at the stats, yes, it is attacker favored, but not attacker favored by the way that Mystic are playing in the current moment. But maybe round 3 is going to be the exemption. Perhaps this is the one where they finally band together, they start to drone each other out, and they work as a unit.
I think there's going to be some success to be found. Even if Mystic gets the first frag, that can definitely be something that swings the favor in their direction, the scales of fate, so to say, and I think that could be something we see. But at the same time, I don't think this Team Assault is a team that can lose one player and then just be count out for the entire round. I think that no matter what, the differential may be in terms of players, I don't think it's necessarily going to be the largest factor because obviously Nitrocell's available. This one is tossed because Poison takes that cross route. I think that's a bit of a flubbed mistake there by Asian. They do still have 2 Nitros to work with, as you do see Asian is rotating over from the southern edge of that room, now rotating west, and attempts to get towards that back hall, maybe hoping to continue in this direction. This objective is something that's extremely dangerous to work with. Too many openings, too many hard walls, and you can find yourself a high level of success when you breach them open. Same as Spiff, who manages to find Maxily. A 5v3 with only 28 seconds remaining. Swiftly becomes the 5v2 as Eddie with the F2 finds Asian. Nitros will be tossed, not finding anything. That's the last one. JJ has expunged it. And now Felt is stuck in a bad spot, taking a little bit of damage. Blast. JJ himself is trapped as well. Felt managing to take 1, taking 2 as JJ finds one of his own, but Spiff is there for the 3K. Now a 2v1. Felt is at 2 HP as well. Needs to clutch up and win this one, but cannot get it done. Mystic will find their first round of success, and it goes on this basement objective that's so hit or miss with so many different teams.
Yeah, that's not a great call for Team Assault to go down to the basement. A lot of I think the consensus on the situation where you pick this basement side, it is never the first one you go to. Oftentimes, you play out your first 2 sites, which in this case was dining and office, and then going down to the basement is a fake out where you try to make sure that the attack has a lot of utility that you would need for that top floor clear, because if you're not prepared to clear out, the area at the library stairs at top blue, you really are going to come quite short on the offense. But I've seen it tried a lot of times where you'll do that fake out and you'll go down to the basement, but just the way that the site is set up, as long as you have a single hard breacher, it really, it's not going to work. There's a lot of different angles that you can cut up the site from, and even though Team Assault almost held on, I like the attempt there from the last 2, the Jaeger and the Mute. It just never materialized for them because Mystic realized there's very few playable positions in this side, and after clearing them out, the round was won, and it's a pretty big one to put Mystic up. There is a world, I think, where maybe they come back in this game, just so long as Team Assault make another mistake like that.
Plenty of rooms to have mistake be made, and I think one of the biggest factors for Team Mystic, or Mystic, sorry, I should say, is the fact that they finally managed to get a round under their belt, and that's going to be something important for them. If they're not able to keep that momentum going forward, then they're inevitably going to start falling apart. And when they start falling apart, it's going to be extremely obvious. Because, look, Ashen taken out. Where the Roni is a little bit too successful right now for Team Assault, and I think that one of the big things in my heart that I want to see from Mystic is them to actually be able to get inside the building without taking losses, without taking L's. And in all honesty, all I'm able to see them do is get inside of the chat right now, and they're doing exactly that. And we've seen them make comebacks where they lose a player early and they're able to return it. We do see now Tones takes out JJ, and it does even out the margin to a 4v4, quickly returned right back. Now Poison takes it even further inside of favor for Mystic as they take out Felt, and those 2 players are extremely important for this Team Assault defense. A Mute, probably a jammer in the pocket, I'm not too sure, I didn't get to see before it went away, and obviously your ally player with NMX4 Storm is taken out to the wayside, but you still have 2 Nitros to contend with. Maxley and Gunner each have 1 in pocket. Asian is using the Roni, he's already found success with it as well, and you can obviously have that continue to go forward. Asian does find Eddie, taking out 1, now ready to peek towards that back south balcony, not able to tag anyone in the process, but Sif towards that bathroom window, finds Asian crossing through piano. Nothing to contend with as 1 minute and 35 seconds remain on the clock. A 3v2 is in effect.
A lot of pressure surely here from Mystic to try to close out this round and tie back up the score. Gunner is lurking in an off position. Gotta be careful that you don't leave your teammate alone with no support. That will happen in eventuality. Max at least DBN out. Should be enough cover to eventually go for the revive. Poison is still working up above. I'm not sure what his plan is. Maybe he wants to work the vert, but that won't matter much as it's Tones and Spiff to combine in shutting down the last bastion of Assault members, as now their ability to coordinate, it's looking a lot stronger, and it puts them in an even game.
Thank goodness, too, Stick. I'm starting to hope we go to a map 5. I really am, because I'm genuinely curious. I want to see Mystic make the return. I want to see them go in the up and up. It's been really annoying to see Mystic fail to capitalize in situations where they should be. And yes, Mystic is on the attack and it is favored, and them taking rounds could be something that is something we don't see in the second half, like we've been seeing not in the second half of the last few maps, I should say. But I don't think it's necessarily going to go that way. There's a reason why I called overtime for this. I think the fact of the matter is, Mystic knows that this is a make it or break it moment. They know this map is everything. And I don't think anyone on this Mystic roster is somebody that's going to sit back and get walked over for this long. And I'm sorry to break it to you, Mystic, as well, even though I want to pump you up and give you props. Spiff can't get all of your kills. Spiff is not the player you can rely on every single time. Eventually, his concentration is going to break. Spiff is an amazing player. He deserves all the props you can give, but you cannot rely on one player to get the job done. It's an even spread for Mystic. Team Assault, a little more lopsided, but they've got 2 players with 5 and 6. They've got 2 players that, in a clutch-up situation, we know they can find success. We've already seen it with Asian and Gunner being able to accomplish those things. And I think Mystic needs one more player to step up and get the job done. And the last time I mentioned that, I mentioned Ashen. Ashen needed to step up and get the job done, and they did, but they failed to continue that growth and failed to continue that praise I wanted to give, and ultimately were not able to complete the comeback on that last map of Villa.
Looking a little better for them here, though, in this moment. Scores tied. Mystic's first 2 rounds look drastically different than their most recent 2, and it's for the better. Let's put it like that. The way that they're executing has been pretty consistent, and consistency really helps you out a lot on this French map. Yes, Spiff is fragging out to a decent extent, and maybe Ashen could do some contributing as well, because for the Sledge player currently, you don't want to have it be another situation like on Villa, where he only started to contribute at the, the last couple rounds of the game. And it seems like every time I get prepared to talk about Ashen, he gets a kill. What a weird,
keep talking about him.
Situation.
Every Mystic fan of the chat right now wants you to keep talking about it. Keep going.
All right.
If that's the
See
case.
if Ashen can maybe get some kills with those frag grenades that he's got in this kit. And every Mystic fan with fingers crossed. Somehow, Asian crosses into Piano, crosses back, and survives being pumped with bullets from that weapon of Tones. JJ finds one with the 9mm. I guess he's just working the hatch plate. Eddie finally will shut down the player. He gets Gunner. Ashen is gone, though, which, yeah, that's a bit of a heartbreaker. So Asian has created an off angle for the player outside the main door. If Eddie has heard this, that would be an easy pre-fire, but judging by the Nomad's crosshair placement, I don't think she's quite aware.
And this backyard entrance is something that's kind of difficult to contend with. I mean, obviously, Fireplace Hall is a dangerous trajectory in the first place. Felt did not anticipate that would be a real player, I don't think. Maybe thought that was a Gemini replicator. Turned out not to be, or they missed. I'm not too sure either way, but did not die when they intended and did not fire the full mag and should have just mag dumped the opposition, but did not go forward. Felt with a shot that I cannot believe actually managed to go forward. Does find Spiff. Poison and Tones will be able to frag back with 2 of their own, taking out JJ and Asian, and just Felt left standing. They got one miraculous shot, one great one I still don't technically understand, and now has the ability to play the rotate. Completely spotted out, though, by the drone, and now you're going to see Mystic start to cave in on this last player, but Felt will not let it go down easy. Takes out Eddie from hatch, but Poison walks in from stock, goes through the back angle, and completely catches him off guard, finishing that round off in favor, once again here, Sticula, in favor of this attacking team of Mystic.
All right, so perhaps all the fingers crossed and the hoping for a Mystic comeback has started to come true. I think you can say from their play, it looks like the tempers have been, kind of tamed, and the play is a lot more sensible. We talked about Chalet as being this map where the attackers generally have a pretty big advantage. Now that Mystic have started to score more and more rounds, they're going to put themselves at ease if potentially Team Assault come into the second half and really explode on the offense. Hopefully, that still happens, so we get this overtime game, and it's not, the complete sweep. Of course, with, play-by-play Sticula's prediction of the, 11-9 result for Mystic, because we don't get overtime very often, and it's even rarer that casters get an opportunity to look at an infinite overtime matchup.
Unless you're a Valorant caster, in which case, you get to see it all the time. So, I mean,
We don't talk about Valorant.
I see how it is. Just completely. I mean, it's only one of like 9 games I cast, so it's only on my
show off.
That,
yeah. What else is
I also cast Minecraft and Roblox Phantom Forces and.
For all you aspiring casters out there, you got to get on the Splitgate train. That's the next big one.
You just want to catch Splitgate. I can't tell many people are like, "You're casting Splitgate soon." I was like, "Yeah, but like, you got a slot." I'm like, "We might." I mean, I already had people asking to fill. They're gonna be ahead of you. Like, they're like, people want to jump in on it. It's
get in line, fool.
It's an interesting game. Yeah, they gotta get in line. You're the first person to reach out, so I got you on my first list. So, something to keep up to. But speaking of keeping up keeping up with this round. So going forward, obviously, 30 seconds, a round have passed. Not anyone has been felled just yet. That's pretty rare so far, considering how round 2 and round 3 went. As a quick rush in, we did see coming from Tones with that Amaru and was fizzled out quite early in round 2. And obviously, the Team Assault has attempted to go forward in their roam game, being taken out in return. Mystic have done a pretty good job of their roam clear so far, and I think it's because a lot of the Team Assault defenders are getting a little too greedy in their positioning and are playing for the frag-centric roam instead of the information-styled roam.
Team Assault sometimes can be the team that is a little bit more sort of decided in their playstyle and will wait for that, Gunner, just as I say that, Gunner swings the bathroom window. Look at the angle over here for Spiff. He is tucked far away. I don't really blame Gunner for losing out in that fight with such a superior range advantage. Poison will strike first. He gets the opening kill, but look at Asian as he walks through. Guns 1 in trophy, and then he just steps up the staircase for another. Tones goes for the pre-fire. I suppose that was aimed at Gunner just around the corner at the half wall. Now he's got his teammate moving up. Asian, though, traded out by Spiff. I'm pretty surprised that the Flores wins that fight. And that's a pretty big one to win, because otherwise this would have been a 4 versus 2 defense advantage, and it would be pretty difficult to get that one back. Tones' nade, it's almost perfectly on target there against Gunner, but wow, Tones is just a machine as he steps in, chucks the nade. Maxily tries to flank, but it doesn't work out from the dining room hallway, and JJ, the captain, is left to try to come back against 3 to see if he can make the even half. Spiff has really got the advantage here, but swinging back the SMG-11 and its superior fire rate will work him through, but Poison for another kill as Habana maining. Callum Keegan is just a little bit better prepared there. What a surprise result. A sucker punch in the first 2 rounds by Team Assault, and Mystic just completely, diabolically take those 4 back right at them.
Yeah, a very swift return, a return of the king, so to say, as you could social media team put on a tweet, as that is already a thing, a meme before. But sorry, I was giving advice to Jay. As he said, I already gave him enough moments earlier. I always got to do his job for him some more. Please don't. I'm not a big social media guy. But yeah, Mystic with a great return. But unfortunately, this is kind of an attacker-favored map. We've mentioned this, and Team Assault now get to start on the attack, and they've been extremely successful in their attack in a lot of the maps. Maybe not so much on Clubhouse, but I don't think that one necessarily counted anyways when they couldn't even get inside the building because Mystic's defense would just spawn peek every single angle possible and rotate every which way. So I think that this map's going to be entirely different. They're going to go with a, obviously a second floor hole for this first floor defense, for this bar and billiards room. They have the option of holding towards this main hall, holding wide stairs. Ashen is setting up as some ADSs to help defend whichever player decides to lay there and wait. I predict it'll probably be Poison, though I predict Poison may go for a little bit more of an extended style roam, but an MX4 Storm with a 1.5 defending that white staircase behind a reinforced shield would be extremely strong, and there's a lot of viability when it comes to that direction. And instead, Tones is tossing an Electroclaws from down below. It should be easy to spot out if Team Assault is aware of that, but it will force them to have to drop down since they won't necessarily know it's there in the first place. Can work for 1 round, probably won't work for 2 if they catch on to it, but I mean, it should buy them enough time, and they only need to buy enough time for 3 rounds. So, Mystic are looking to try and finish this one off and lead us to map 5.
I think what jumps out to me the most about this setup is the fact that they have reinforced off the south-facing walls, which you were talking about with the Electro Club, but left the west-facing wall soft. A lot of times it's the other way around. Generally, you almost never see the you know, the Ivy wall, I suppose you could call it, left unreinforced, which makes me think that Mystic have a different plan in mind, and wow, it is a very successful one. Gunner and Asian, both sets of frag grenades are completely gone, and that's a lot to recover from here. Something you'll have to be concerned of. Max Silly steps to the interior of Mudroom, and he catches out Tones. I believe it was just inside a bar, and he was able to find the angle. T is really the working force right now for Team Assault. After losing 2 men, they need somebody to step up, and perhaps that'll be Max.
I like how it says they have 6 nades at the top for Team Assault. It's a very interesting number. Math not add up me. Yeah, thank you very much. Very interesting, but obviously Mystic kind of starting off very strong and kind of have fallen apart the last 2 kills. Things aren't really working out. Eddie somehow doesn't get the kill into Maxley. Will, however, Maxley gets his onto Poison in a 2v3 in effect. Team Assault, Maxley specifically trapped inside Mud. Really no clue where to go as JJ finds Spiff. A 3v1. Eddie is the last man standing, the Aruni player, ready with Aruni at hand, and is extremely wary of Maxley, who's just been sitting in that room, has not left, and doesn't necessarily need to, as they found most of their kills in this round from just sitting within and letting their teammates converge on points. However, Maxley goes for the peak before his teammates are ready with a crossfire, and Eddie will capitalize, finding the kill with a headshot, removing him from the situation, and putting himself in a more advantageous position in a 2v1, sitting in the backside of Stock, and now hiding behind Bar, hoping to not get spotted out as they push forward, gets hit with a flash in the head, but still does not get blinded. He decides to get a little bit more aggressive, breaks the pot, but unfortunately is not enough to hide as he still manages to get shot out and killed. A very successful attacking round from this Team Assault.
Was that a spectator bug, or did the Zofia get team flashed by the Hibana?
I think she
that's
did. The flashes have been very successful so far in this one. I'm honestly shocked that we didn't see Eddie get flashed there, despite getting hit in the freaking face with it. Like,
imagine if Eddie had moved up and hidden the opposite corner. Imagine what he would have been able to do, because Zofia couldn't see. I mean, she was still flashed. She only just noticed him when she became unflashed. That could have been a round-winning play. It's a nitpick though. Small position.
Yeah, how dare you
like
nitpick?
That.
How dare? How dare you overanalyze a situation and give a better result, a better possibility, guidance, so to say, to the team that ultimately failed that round? How dare? Like, I have to agree with you. You're 100% right.
Yeah. Anyways, Eddie, I think, overperformed maybe what my expectation would have been when he beat the Crossfire and he took out Maxilli, who had been, you know, already just survived death, cheated it the first time, and then went on to pivot kind of from the game's angle to the library stairs angle. He was just a turret, just watching every single position from that mudroom door. But that'll be Team Assault as they finally shatter the streak. Mystic, until round 7, had won 4 in a row. As we talked about, the dynamic there in that first half was very streaky between teams. So now Team Assault are going to bring us one step closer. And this would have been what I had talked about, or what I would have talked about, excuse me, if we had a normal first half. Sometimes if you are struggling on your offense and you don't get enough rounds, your opponent can start off and just kind of play a level game of chalet attack and just beat you in that own regard because you don't set up enough of a reserve. Maxilli is the opening death. Another spawn peak attempt, and this time it'll be a spawn peak win for Mystic, which has been a pretty big dichotomy, I think you could say. Kind of tells you a lot about the theme of this game, Scott.
Yeah, the theme's been pretty, I don't know. There's been a lot of moments where it's a little stagnant when it comes to the attack that comes forward. But ultimately, I think that when it comes to the attack and winning the late round engagements, that's where it's kind of been important. Because early game, you've seen a lot of attacking teams lose players. Like, obviously, this round. Last round before, where they lost too early and then made that 2-0 comeback, tying it into 3-3, and then ultimately kind of going ahead with it. But it's starting to look a little impossible, so to say, in this round, as you do finally see yet another kill dropping as a Nitro is tossed, finding one, and that's 3 players down now for Team Assault. They only have a Zofia and a Hibana, JJ and Felt, and yes, these 2 players are extremely strong, but you're asking them to do almost something impossible, a 5v2 return. We've seen it, we've had it happen. Spiff did it. I mean, we obviously know that from last map, but I don't necessarily know if it's something that's likely in return. As Ashen from Hatch and Master Bedroom in a hole in the wall for that main hallway and kitchen finds the player of JJ, and it's just Felt left standing. Felt ready to push in from dining hallway, sees one player rushing forward, finds the kill, denying a chance for a flawless victory, but is Felt aware of the player lying down prone by Hatch, sees the head, but doesn't fire. Felt, shoot your freaking gun, my goodness! Ashen will find the kill, and something that completely shouldn't have been, and Mystic will find themselves here another round win.
Come on, man. Just shoot him! Just pull the trigger!
How many muscles does it take to move your finger to it? Like, good nights.
You can't even complain about skins there, because we got the competitive rule set. Like, that was just... He just didn't realize he had the advantage. I mean, how long did it take the Jaeger to finally shoot? He was just having a staring contest there. And what a weird round. And I love that angle as well. That's a really lovely angle there to watch the step in from West Main. I will be pilfering that for my own use in private time in ranked gameplay. But Bar in Gaming is back, and one thing I'll say is no third site basement play. Thank you, Mystic. Thanks for that. Don't pull a Team Assault and go down to the basement. Oh my God, Scott! I just realized the basement choice for Team Assault is what started the comeback.
Huh. You know, it's funny. I was actually going to mention this earlier, Stick. I was a supporter of the basement defense. I was actually a big supporter of it. I thought basement was a fun objective to defend. Maybe not the smartest. Depends on the playstyle of your opponent and yourself. But with the current change in the meta as the update came out, no, don't touch it. Do not touch it. This current update has severely debilitated any chance of a team successfully defending an objective. And it just isn't a smart choice to bring. I mean, obviously, take a look at Twitch, right? Your main ability to actually keep that Ski-Mobile hard wall reinforced and actually denying hard reach on that, a Twitch can completely deny that now, and a very mobile Twitch drone as well to get rid of the utility that's on the wall. And it's just something that's extremely strong, especially with the fact that we've been seeing Twitch fairly often in this matchup, and then comboing that with the fact that Ski-Mobile is the outside southern doorway of Garage, by the way, Sticula. And Ski, whatever you want to call it.
You mean Snowmobile?
Snowmobile, whatever the heck it is. It's all the same gist. It's all the same gist, okay? Like, you don't gotta nitpick me like John nitpicks me on the names of things, but it makes it so much more difficult to try and face against, especially with Mute as well being jammed out, and the fact you can kind of repel in that direction. But two players already dropped for Team Assault. That's Asian and Gunner. We also are probably going to see Maxley drop soon if we want to see a repeat of last round, but he's stepping in for Mudroom, hoping to maybe contend. There's one player extremely close to his right. A moment's notice to take the shot, but he's buying his time in Mud and praying not to get rushed in the process.
Maxilli is so good from this Mudroom position. Continues to hold out. The Surya Gate prevents his advance. Two players outside the store. The Jaeger facing over by Main. Maxilli will adjust. Now the Jaeger turns around. Maybe he's finally heard the Ash. Tone's taken out as a trade comes in from JJ, but Max can't move through. He would have to use a breaching round, which would make him incredibly vulnerable. I mean, the amount of time it would take, I think Mystic would be able to capitalize in that moment. His best chances... How long are we going to watch this? There we go. That's a great play by Feltwinter. He comes down, but can't get to confirm. Max is now aware of the player, but it's a tough angle by Eddie. Really just the corner pixel. Feltwinter will use his lifeline to confirm the downed player of Ashen in the hallway, but has three more now to find, and Eddie has moved through into walk-in closet bulletproof camera. Lifeline comes out. That'll be destroyed. It's got barbed wire, so there should be a clear audio cue if he walks through it, or if he melees. Either way, Eddie will know, or maybe Spiff will know, or maybe Poison will know. Playing from behind the bar, Feltwinter steps in. Here's a rustling. That'll be Spiff as he rounds the corner for Mystic. Now to step onto match point.
It just looks like it just looks like the Mystic defense there is really set up for that situation. Obviously, you had your one player push in the mudroom and take advantage of the situation, the position that your player Maxley left open when he was taken out. And it was just a better decision there. Put one in stock, one behind bar. The stock player can watch both doorway leading into Gamers from that side, and they can also watch the doorways leading into that bar room. So it was just better positioning, better playmaking, and Mystic are looking a lot better. And I think that the scoreline definitely shows that. Mystic is looking a lot more right now, Stick, as the brain no work. The Mystic right now is looking a lot more like the Mystic we saw in map 1. And I think that's the most important thing we're seeing right now. They're finding success and keeping it. And that's the most important aspect. They're able to deny Team Assault's kills. Even when Team Assault is getting the kills, they're immediately refragged back, and that's the most important part. When you lose a teammate, that information needs to be in a split second, immediately given to your teammates. No wiggle room about it. You have to be able to relay that information in the most concise way possible. And from the looks of it, it looks to be Mystic is doing just that. The second a kill has been dropping, they're immediately taken down on the refrag. Position given away. They're not getting greedy with these peaks. Their defensive presence is set up better, as those barbed wires we saw in hallway, and obviously leading into bar. It gave them the information they need. And even when they were peeking that spot, both of them, one behind bar and one in stock, both peeked that angle, though I think the bar player was half a second to a second behind, but they are ready to assist each other at a moment's notice, and I think that's going to be the difference maker, and I think that's the reason why we're seeing Mystic kind of return on this up and up.
Man, they just had to play the basement site, didn't they? They just...
You're still on that? This is the return?
I am.
I mean, you could very well be right. I mean, obviously,
it's not even like dining is locked. It's open. Dude,
they're just being difficult. They don't like you, all right? Like, to be fair, I think the basement site's fun, but I don't think it's a good objective. Especially not with the new update.
It's the grand final, Scott. It's not time for fun. It's time for
agree.
winning.
It's always time for fun. This is T3 Amateur R6. Reese.
All right. Well, Asian is the opening death, which puts Mystic one kill closer to map number 5, which would be Consulate, if you're wondering about that. Second one now for Eddie. Sophia swings him. Great game sense there from Felt. Very aware. Ashen walks down, coming from the staircase, and he'll get found out as well. So it seems like maybe Mystic have defaulted back to how they were playing in the first 2 rounds, with players being very uncoordinated and falling victim to fairly simple collapses from Team Assault. I don't know what Maxley hears as he suddenly will adjust to the top of the staircase. Maybe that's just a call to be weary of your flanks. Feltwinter is going to try to come in from Snowmobile side, as Gunner himself is called off as well. I think Gunner is going to try to work the vert inside a lobby for a little while. That'll be what it does. That's the sledgehammer below. You see the highlight from Poison. Not a good time to reload, Poison. Otherwise, he might have won that fight if he had the shotgun instead of the out-of-bullets SMG. Now feeling pressure from Gunner, feeling pressure from Feltwinter, who's still waiting at the staircase. A drone will spot him, but Poison continues to push up, chasing this frag. Shotgun in hand. Zofia pulls back, and another one comes down from the blue hall, and Maxley will do Poison in for Team Assault. As it's no closeout at 7-3 for Mystic, we will play on for one more round.
I'm going to give full props to Poison there in that attempt. Did not find a single player, but essentially knew where to look and how to look in that position. And I got to give full props to that. It was a very successful attempt, even though the ultimate ending was a failure. And I just love the way they do it, the way he digested the information that was given to him. Obviously, the reload right before the moment was a little strange and wasn't the ultimate outcome you wanted, and the ability to kind of rush forward was lost, as you did see the player rotate away from that ski stairs and was actually able to take that step back. But I think, in my honest opinion, Mystic kind of flubbed that round in a direction that I didn't necessarily anticipate. Yes, the basement objective is not that good, and I'm not shocked to see it go that way. But what I am shocked to see is how quickly the collapse of Team Assault pushing in towards that basement site and collapsing like you talked about on Mystic. I was shocked to see how quickly Mystic started to fall apart. It was like everything just started toppling like a game of dominoes, because I don't know how to play dominoes correctly, and I only know how to stack them up and push them over like a house of cards, right? It really did look like that, and they ultimately were unable to hold on long enough to leave it into a good situation to maybe have Poison not be in a 3v1, instead maybe a 2v1 or a 1v1, which I think would have been much more manageable for a player on the caliber of Poison.
Gotta be sort of a feel-good position for Mystic right now, knowing that they're on match point and at least overtime is guaranteed. They've got 2 rounds, this one and the next, to close it out and to put us on towards Consulate to be that Game 5 decider. Cade Claw's in position as well. Team Assault continuing on. I think if they approach this in a similar way as they did the last round, making sure that if there's an opening, if they, spot a way that they can change, they can adapt, they immediately, go and signal for it, like they did with the, instead of just trying to dry push in from Wine Cellar, they actually went and they opened the vertical, they put some more pressure on the smoke, and then they had some really good drones as well, which are always helpful. That can be something to worry about for Mystic, who a lot of times will have a Mute or a Mozzie. Very rarely it's been both of them so far.
I think one of the big factors right now when it comes to this objective is just the difference in playstyle that you have to see. And right now we're seeing a big variation in verticality, right? I mean, obviously Team Assault with a minute into the round are looking to collapse in once again on this first floor, taking control of dining, taking control of kitchen, working their way over towards Trophy, and working their way up the stairs in corner pocket, and then hopefully trying to find success on the actual second floor, but they do have to survive the players on the first. And they're starting to do a pretty good job of doing just that, as you do see Ashen has fallen away, and you have a 4v5 situation. You do still have to contend against the players on the first, but you don't have to worry about that extra man on that roam. However, a player in the basement prowling around may make things a little bit more difficult for you to sit still. Stick, this may be one of those moments where, like you mentioned on map 2, you need one of those flank drones, one of your rear watching drones, and I'm not necessarily sure if Team Assault has that set up, but it ultimately doesn't seem to matter because can't push from the outside edge. Player on this western balcony, Asian, finds one of the opposing side of Mystic, setting them up for a 5v3, make it a 5v2 as Asian gets his triple. Felt finds his, denying any chance of an ace. Eddie is the last man standing in a 1v5 post-plant situation, and Stick, things look in dire need for this Mystic defense.
And for the last player as well, Eddie has got 5 players to find, 35 seconds left to do so, but he won't even get one for Asian. Walks down the stairs, and the gun is trained. He was mid-reload, too. Popped the clip back into the gun and took the shot against the Aruni. So we'll head to the final round of regulation. Number 12, Mystic can close out the game, or we'll be headed into overtime if Team Assault can get it over the line.
I'm going to go ahead and mention, Stinkula, the fact that Team Assault, it's another return after playing the basement objective. How do you feel about that? Basement objective is played, and ultimately Mystic take it and then sweep for the next few rounds, and then Mystic plays basement, and now Team Assault takes it and starts to go ahead with it. So, is basement cursed? Is you going to go ahead and call it that basement is just cursed and shouldn't be played now?
No, the basement side is just not good physically. It's not defensible unless you're in ranked. Do not play the basement because you'll get swept. You'll get swept up. Gotta have learned this lesson by now. Why try the basement side of it? I don't get it. I'm gonna have to talk to Poison and Gunner, or Poison and J-Dude, whichever ones I choose.
Just go and tweet them right now. They're probably looking at their phones, right? Just go and tweet them right now. Start drafting up a bit longer. Like, Mystic. Why? Just 2 words.
I'm just gonna go ask them in the Discord. Can I just go jump in the call? I don't think production would really.
I don't think they would like that. I think UPL would probably be a little sus. Like, maybe not have them walk at that.
I'll ask them after. We'll focus on.
Yeah, that is a good.
It's round 12, and it is the final round to be played. So, what are the main points that we're looking at here? In my opinion, it has to be Mystic working together and not taking these 1v1 fights, especially on this site. And Team Assault need to make sure that they maintain their drone network, I feel.
I don't think you're incorrect about that in the slightest. I mean, Team Assault need information, and they've been doing a pretty good job of that in the past rounds, and they weren't doing a good job of it for an extended period of time. The Mystics' roam game was a little bit too much to deal with, and I think, like I mentioned earlier, and I believe in like round 4 or 5, was Team Assault adapts better than Mystic does. And so when Mystic jumps back to their original strategy, like they pulled on map 1, they were able to take a few routes, but I don't necessarily know if that's going to last, because now that strategy has just been returned. Team Assault are going back to the strategy they used to beat that they used on map 2. And now Mystic are kind of needing to pull something out of the hat, so to say, to try and fix things up and find a way to find success on this map in this last round. And I think they're definitely capable of doing so still. They have the ability to do so. They have information they can work with. You've got Surya Gates to deny a lot of opportunity for utility to be dumped towards you. You can deny information, like we just saw Poison taking out a drone. And you've got Magnets and ADS to deny even further utility. Mystic have the setup for success. It's just a matter of, can they win these gunfights and manage to take this round a step further by getting ahead and finding this first frag.
Poison is, I mean, he's really testing himself here. Another Flores drone will be sent down. This forces him ahead. Spiff will headshot one. Ashen now for another. Mystic, really, they have set themselves up in a great way, but JJ and Feltwinter explode for 2 kills back. Eddie, Tones, and Spiff. The Wamai will creep up, working back to the top of the stairs. A flashbang goes past, and Tones is blinded. But does someone from Team Assault go to capitalize? There's one spotted through the floor, and Spiff will take him out for Mystic. A completely back-and-forth affair. Maxilli will silence one with 40 seconds to play for. He's got the case. He has the full foray, the full option, the entire loadout to make his call. With Case still in pocket. But look at this angle from Eddie. That'll do it for Mystic. Round number 12 goes to them. Finally, a close game, back and forth in terms of the rounds. But we will be heading to Consulate after all, as the score is 2-2.
Consulate, Stick. Consulate of all maps as well. I don't think either team necessarily anticipated Consulate going forward, right? I mean, it's a map that not very many people like. It's not something that's necessarily played that often. It's taken out for a reason, so to say, right? I mean, I would rather play Theme Park than Consulate. To be fair, Theme Park's still probably in the minds of a lot of people. Still confused why it was removed from the map pool in the first place, but it is what it is. I'd rather Chalet than Theme Park, so, you know, I'm glad at least Chalet got in, but there's definitely some interesting choices with the competitive map pools that come out. But yes, Mystic on a big return, able to find kills, doing exactly what they need to do to get the job done, and that was to find those frags. They were failing to do so in the last few rounds, and it's because they just got swept in on. A quick rush after they immediately set themselves up. That's what Team Assault was specializing in. They'd position themselves, and then they'd quickly pincer the opposition, frag them out, and then be able to just rush into site and take care of the last few people in a slow and methodical manner. We noticed that on basement site. That's where it all started, so to say, when Mystic picked that up on the defense, where they got the first few frags and then just needed to play the last little bit of time, baited out a couple angles, and then ultimately took the last kill. And they just continue to do that so swiftly in the next few. But Mystic saving it in the end, stopping it from going to overtime. Neither of us were right, but neither was UPL. So technically, nobody gets respect. So I think that's a pretty good margin to work with.
And we'll have one team walking away with more than just bragging rights as we get into the final map of this series to decide it all. And who's going to walk home with that grand prize, I believe, of $1,200. That'll be a nice addition to the wallets of these players. And we have a situation where potentially Mystic are ready to earn another championship for their former org's name, or Team Assault stepping into the community and finally getting a chip for their brand, which would be an awesome way. You know, you start out in R6. They literally picked up the roster just yesterday. I mean, what a way to get going for them. That would be an awesome reality, but hey, if the players want it, they're going to have to fight for it, and they're going to have to put their gunny up as we get into the final map. Before we get there, though, we got to take a step back, and we have to have a short break. So 5 minutes, and we'll be back into the game. Hello everyone, we're back for the final map here in the deciding game. The last game of the summer season will be out of this one and into fall before we know it, ladies and gentlemen, but we have one last map to be played, and we'll be going to Consulate, the map that by normal rules is not in the competitive pool anymore, but we're finishing out the season, and so we've decided that we're going to give it one quick last foray to see how it'll go here in this one. My name is Sticula. I'm joined again by Scott, and man, what are your takeaways coming off of the back of Chalet?
Well, coming off the back of Chalet, Mystics kind of feeling themselves again. Unfortunately, it wasn't necessarily enough to give them as dramatic a scoreline as map 1 turned out to be, but you know, seeing them kind of make that return is nice to see. It makes me feel like map 3 is going to be a little bit more competitive, unlike map 2 and map 3 kind of turned out to be. So I guess that's my biggest takeaway. I'm just really excited that it's Consulate, because what better way to end off a season when the map pool has changed and you literally won't be able to play this basically anywhere else. So it's a great to finish this foray off with a map that you can't play anymore. So finish things strong, come out on top on Consulate, because you're not going to get to play it for much longer. So really excited, Stick. I'm really hoping for it. We got to make the predictions though. Our social media manager is going to berate us if we do not. So what are your predictions?
It's really tough. I think if we were going to see overtime, it would have been in that last game. To be honest with you, I don't feel it's going to be here in the decider, and I think coming into this one, I'm going to predict 7-3 for Team Assault.
I was going to do that exact same scoreline, Stick. I am not going to lie. So I'll go up ahead. I'll be the higher man, I guess, in this situation. I'll go 7-5 Team Assault. I think Mystic will be incapable of taking that 6th to tie it up to go to overtime. So that's our predictions. Hopefully they one or two of them come true, or both. That's impossible. We'll figure things out along the way. But
do we get
obviously,
like a bonus, like a cash prize if our prediction is right?
I want $5. We're not betting. We're not betting anything. Betting is we're not gambling out here. We just want $5. That's a good assumption to have. But obviously, ban phase officially underway. Nomad's going to be banned out. That's not too shocking. It's a very Rome-centric map, exceedingly large and spacious when it comes to that 2nd and 3rd floor. So you need to remove those situations, or 2nd floor and 1st floor, I'm sorry to say. You need to remove any chance of those. And if you're a defensive player, then getting rid of Nomad's a great way to help deny them from denying you to take that Rome to the next level.
All right. Nomad is gone. Mozzie, though. That is definitely an interesting one. You don't get a lot of Mozzie bans, to be honest, in the current meta. But the one thing about the Mozzie that I will mention is the Roni can be seen as kind of a crutch. Let's be honest. I mean, that thing is just a bit of a wicked weapon, and a lot of people, a lot of games you'll see a player will, you know, start off with the Roni. They'll do really good. They'll have like a shocking first half. When they get on the offense, they just can't do a thing. We had that mentioned earlier. I want to say Gunner brought it up in the chat. He said something about Mozzie and the Roni earlier when we were on Villa. But hey, we're into the final. It's the Valkyrie ban as well, which, I mean, that's
nothing
standard
shocking.
fare for this map as far as it goes. And I wonder, we were talking about the bonus in terms of if our prediction is correct. I wonder if Ramsey is watching this. He's the CEO of Unified, because he's got an awesome goatee. I really hope that he's tuning in for this one.
is that really what I was proud of? You just want to, he has an awesome goatee?
Dude, he does. He looks epic.
I want to see it. If somebody has an image, post it for him. I want to see it. Obviously, Consulates. Oh, it really does. That's awesome. I see. I can't grow facial hair, so I mean, like, all I can grow it. It's all blonde, so it doesn't really ever show up. I'd have to shave it. Yeah, don't worry. We're in the same boat. Stick and I are one and the same, unfortunately. But obviously, Consulate, new type of beast, as we've talked about before. Extremely wide map. I mean, the 2nd and 1st floor, they're so spacious. The hallways are extremely large. It's very difficult to effectively use the windows, but it's also very difficult to effectively deny window play. That's why a lot of people would call this window repel simulator, and it really does fulfill that name and fulfill that role exceptionally well. And I think that Mystic on the attack, if they want to find success, they need to be able to do that. They need to be able to use the windows to their success, same way that you would do on Cafe. Say if you're pushing through pixel doorway inside of Cigar Lounge. You need to take control of that window inside Hall that can watch that walk-in closet as well. So I think that Mystic need to do a better job of taking control of windows, because they haven't done that much when it comes to this entire gameplay so far in this best of 5. And obviously, whatever they're doing right now isn't necessarily working either, because first frag does drop to the side of Team Assault on the defense. Maxley finding Tones, and E1E going out, attempting to maybe catch the players sitting on basement steps a little off guard in case the rush does come through.
Very patient here from Feltwinter. Spiff will begin to move in. Drops the Gonsex. Oh, look at there. You see Feltwinter move in. Gunner loses his life. Max is down and confirmed for Eddie second as he dispatches the Jaeger with the pistol. Feltwinter sort of trapped in place here, but he'll hit the swing, and Spiff can't even get a shot on target there against the Melusi. Has to use a late nitro cell to open up a rotation. I mean, at least it feels like it's late. This round has had a very unusual pace. Oh, no! Asian gets around the corner and he gets back in the building. What a great escape there. Asian on the adventure play all the way from front of piano to back in from yellow.
Dangerous position now, a 2v3. Mystic are a man down, but yet have been able to find success. Eddie has found 2. Unfortunately, Caster's Curse will rear its ugly head, and Feldwinter will take them out, and Ashen will be felt immediately afterwards. So Mystic will fail on round 1, but still, round 1 is round 1. There's plenty of match still left to go. At minimum, 6 more rounds in case we do happen to see the side of Team Assault sweep out this map. I don't think that's going to happen, Stick. Neither of us predicted that. And I think Mystic are going to have something else up their hand when it comes to this next round as we head down to the basement. This basement site's going to be pretty important, Stick, as there's a lot of variation in design when it comes to defending this. And one of the biggest variations is the fact that typically you don't have access to a Mira, and instead you typically just play a Maestro or maybe even Wamai inside security, and then you have some long shot angle towards garage door, towards staircase. No, now you can use that black mirror to your advantage, have a sight line, and I guess peek it around the corner and attempt to find a little bit of extra success. And that mirror ban not going through is going to help inevitably this Team Assault's defense first.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Team Assault are going to win this pretty definitively. That's why I voted 7-3, but I don't feel like it's going to be a 7-0.
Yeah.
There's this meme going around where JJ and his team 7-0'd Chess Club, I think? Like really old Chess Club in some sort of qualifier. And he's done it. He did it another time. I think it was in... Maybe it was like CCS Season 5 quals that he did it. I don't think it was that far back, but I do remember JJ has had some pretty decisive results on this map. Nice little Electro Claw there. It goes into the ceiling, and I think it only gets his middle wall though. So...
Bit misplaced?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe he used one on the middle wall and the other for the hatch. What I'll say is generally when you breach that wall, you want to open not really like the left or the far right section. Usually you want to have like a mix of the two, but that seems like a bit of a misplay, and you can't get that claw back down.
Can't get the claw back down, and the misplay also
now
unfortunately wastes it. Yeah, I mean, it looks to be that Mystic have successfully breached Garage. Gunner's in a position that should have been disadvantageous, but instead will find one into Poison, the player who was popping off last map. I think you can agree, as it was kind of the dark horse not anticipated, but quickly refragged back. Gunner will be taken out instead, and Mystic now in a 4v4. They've gotten control of Garage. They have a giant, 2 giant ups of them recharged, breached forward, and now they have no more hard breach to work with, and things will be a little bit slower for them, but it looks to me they're kind of still focusing on this western edge. One player, that's Ashen, kind of teasing towards the main entrance, will drone out, making sure no one's in bathroom, has the possibility to clear out the floors from below, but it'll be Eddie with the F2 to find Feltwinter. A 4v3 E1E will go down. Asian is still moving around with the use of the Vigil utility, trying to remove his traces, but ultimately it doesn't seem to matter because Eddie, now on 3 HP, will find him with the F2 again for their second. And a 4 versus 2 in effect with a minute and a half remaining. Stick, Maxley and JJ have their work cut out for them, but they want to face off against the assault from this Mystic roster.
So much utility left in the wings from Mystic. JJ goes down. He'll hold on for 1. Inside of the clutch. Hopping back and forth between the angles. With Eddie on low HP, it won't matter. Ashen comes through, clutch on the vertical. It's late established, but will be enough as he just traces the head on through against the Mira. Now for Team Assault to have a bit of a response dealt to them. Mystic open up the wall with incredible pace, and Team Assault, they've really fumbled it with that Electro Claw.
I think, in my mind, I did not anticipate Team Assault to lose that, especially that handily. Maybe it was the misplacement of those Electro Claws. Maybe it was their inability to defend Garage. And no matter what it necessarily was, Mystic just did what they needed to do, which was breach Garage, find shots, have some sustainability when it comes to the first floor, letting Ashen be a little bit lagging behind when it comes to getting that aerial play. And I think that's exactly what caused him success. Like you mentioned, it was late, but it was what was necessary to get the job done, and Mystic looked spectacular in that round. Now heading back, repeated the same objective, and I'm usually of the same opinion. Never play the same objective twice because it breeds a level of complacency that just doesn't belong to Game of Art 6. However, I don't think that necessarily applies in a map like Consulate, where the base that is just too strong of an objective to warrant having to go to a tertiary choice. We've already locked out of that first round. So I think this one is a smart decision. I think that as long as this Team Assault can change up their strategy, maybe not misplace Electro Claws, then I think that they definitely have a much better gunning chance to hold out and stop the Garage push. Obviously, Maxley is just going to go for the try and true, placing it on top, does not want to warrant the risk of placing it through the floorboards. And, well, yes, it can be shot aerially. It took Mystic a minute and a half, almost 2 minutes, probably 2 minutes around then to get that aerial play in the first place.
Hoping that Maxley has figured it out this time. He has. The wall will not be the same as it was previously. Tones has the nade, but if Max has done this right, it shouldn't matter. But somehow, again, the nade, it just clears it. And it gets... He tossed another one. He tried to Cade trick it, and I think Maxley needs some lessons on what you're supposed to do with the Electro Claws. Oh, no. Poison gets his other breach off. Both the exothermics are successful. Quickly here, what you want to do is you want to go to the south side of the wall. There's a red toolbox. You want to throw the Electro Claw under that. The other one, you make a hole in the roof, and you throw it up to the top, where if the nade detonates, it has to be perfectly thrown. Otherwise, it won't get it because of the height. There you go. I hope you're listening, Max, after the fact of this. And I hope that your Electro Claw has more success in the future.
Who are we kidding, Stink? They're probably watching back the VOD and have it muted. And let's be honest here with ourselves. I don't think they care enough about us to leave it unmuted. But yeah, I mean, Mystic's attack is working because Team Assault's defense on this just isn't well set up. Maybe this is why it was picked last, right? It wasn't something they necessarily anticipated they would have to go to. And it's a little bit strange to me to think that Cafe was taken out. I honestly would have preferred for both these teams to play Cafe instead, because that's just something that's more commonly played. It has more play time in recent time. It probably has a more standardized approach towards setups and towards how you're going to position yourselves with actual sustainability when it comes to your defensive presence and utility. And we just aren't seeing that right now towards this basement site. The one that I said is so usually favored, and especially when you can bring a mirror to the table, we just aren't really seeing enough of it. However, we are seeing enough of JJ and Asian, who find 2 of their own. However, 1 from Team Assault actually was felled in the process. A 2v4 in effect. Eddie will try to step up, does manage to tag one, does not manage to get any damage off in the process. Instead, will lose his life to JJ. Ashen does find Asian, but a 1v3, and Ashen has to clutch up everything as we approach the last 35 seconds of this round. It's almost too much work for one man to do.
Oh, and what a way to end it there. The Nitro goes up, and quite punctuant as the sledgehammer hit goes to the floor, and the Nitro call is made. And that'll be a much better look there from Team Assault as they hold on to their man advantage. It feels like the Miras were a lot more successful than they were in the previous round. And what a weird spot for Ashen to be in. To be, like, lying prone in antechamber. That's such a baiter move.
Yeah, I mean... Sticula, as we're approaching this next round, though, despite all the flaws we saw from Team Assault in round 2, round 3 looked a lot better when it came to pincering once again, which is kind of like the big thing Mystic's kind of falling apart on. Mystic can take an angle, and they're doing a very good job of taking that Garage side of the map towards the western edge. But the issue ultimately kind of falls apart when Team Assault are not able to kind of work their way in a different direction, like we saw towards that corner yellow stairs. if they weren't able to take that direction and find your kill into your Lion player of Spiff, which is what exactly happened, that round could have gone in an entirely different direction. I think that Mystic play much better when they're able to spread themselves out enough to remove the chances of getting taken from two sides. And they just weren't capable of doing that in that last round. Obviously, you saw the same thing with Eddie, who attempted to push in through that actual raid room, but it ultimately was not meant to be, as they were taken out quickly afterwards, and then the Nitro dispatched their last. So, Sticula, as we approach this new objective, where we are definitely going to see Team Assault play a massive emphasis on verticality, how can Mystic adapt, and how can Mystic work towards not getting pincered on this next attack?
I would say that you gotta kind of set up your entries with support from drones. I mean, that seems like a very base level comp idea, but as long as the droning is there and you're pretty consistent about doing so, whether you're going for the full clear upstairs or maybe what seems like more of a horizontal approach below the Visa, I think it's going to support Mystic and allow them to be more successful in doing so. Tone starts to move in. I imagine a teammate will be working behind him as well, as you've got sort of this split pressure option. Nitro sails through, but he detonates and doesn't deal a lick of damage against Mystic. Feltwinter will now try for the swing. Drone is launched in, but the moment is missed there for Feltwinter, who could have made Maxilli's kill into 2 with a pickup against the Hard Breacher as well, which would have substantial impact. Feltwinter is chased by the Type 89's 5.56 across the interior of the admin space, and, well, he's not been cleared out yet, and I don't imagine that's going to come anytime soon, as he just continues to be a threat. Flashbang sent in, he's blinded out, and Poison comes through for the chase, and he connects for a headshot. Surprisingly, there has just had a tiny amount of the Melusi that he could spot, but it will be enough for the kill. However, a minute and 30. Is this 90-second period going to be enough for Mystic to go through all the way up top?
I think time will have to tell. I think there's plenty for them to work with, and Mystic definitely have the players that are capable of doing so, but I think there's going to be a large factor for the fact that they've lost their Yana, they've lost the ability to Gemini replicate in the site, and like we've been talking about so much in the last few maps, information is everything. And if we're not seeing Mystic, despite it only being in this last 60-second period, if we're not seeing them drone out to gather information and watch their own rears, there's no chance we're seeing Team Assault fail to capitalize and find kills. Because if their position is unknown, even though there's a standardized meta towards where you're going to situate yourselves, there's no way Team Assault is going to be standing still the entire time and waiting for Mystic to just walk in. They're going to be playing their own game. Micromanagement of positions, micromanagement of each gunfight, and setting yourselves up for anything further than just waiting for the enemy to walk into your arms. And I think that's exactly what Mystic has done. 2 kills have dropped. Spiff and Eddie will find one of their own, as Maxley does finally get a refrag back to Eddie. A 3v2 situation. Asian and Maxley are the last 2 standing. Looks to be a dangerous presence, though, for Asian, as he's trying to rotate over to get back towards that meeting room. Center next to console office. Goes through a reinforced wall. The breach that's next door. Does manage to find the Lion player. Takes out Spiff, but Asian is last man standing. Poison is planting the diffuser. He is in a gunfight for his life against Ash, and he pulls out the GAT and finishes the job. Gets it handled, and we will see the attacking team, with no need to actually plant the diffuser, take advantage and win a round.
There we go. Mystic fairly thorough with their top floor clear, and in that instance, you see one of the big reasons why those flashbangs are so much more of a problem now with the changes that have been made. Feltwinter was having a lot of luck from the get-go, even though he could have had a free kill on the Hibana from the start, right? Like, if he just peeked a little bit longer around the corner and saw the head. Either way, he falls back, the flashbangs start to come in, he gets concussed, and he has a lot of problems dealing with that skirmish there against Poison. Gives him control of the top floor, and even though they lost a man, they had Tones go down inside Visa. Eventually, they were just sort of able to kind of creep across the map. They got control of Projector, and for a lot of lobby attacks, that'll be the win condition, because denying the vertical up above limits the amount of defender angles that you can play, and when there's one defender left, I mean, they knew where the Vigil was, there was no question.
Now, Stick, in regards to the last 90 seconds, they didn't start pushing that second floor, pushing towards meeting, until about 70 seconds left. And they did a very good job of taking very quick, swift control of that second floor. Do you think that's a big adaptation for Mystic, instead of taking their time slowly with the pushes, instead starting to push forward a little bit faster and really turning the tables on Team Assault a little bit quicker than they have in the last map 2 and map 3, because in map 1 obviously Mystic just swept forward and just took rounds, but we kind of haven't been seeing that from Mystic because it stopped working for them, and now finally we're starting to see semblance of that again. Do you think they are able to maintain that, or do you think Team Assault, like the kill they just got, is going to be able to turn it back on their heads and force them to play back into that old style?
Honestly, that could be the question to me that sort of decides the pace and the future of where this game goes. Tones dies much earlier than he did in the previous round, and I have to feel like that's going to spur Team Assault on to be a little bit more confident with how they hold this setup. Maxilli has been dealt an ADS as well, and now that you've lost Tones, unless Ashen immediately gets in position from the admin rappel, it's not going to be real easy to put nades on positions to clear out Maxilli, not to mention the fact that he's got support as well. He's got a teammate from over by the walk-in break room as well, which is certainly going to help him out given the scenario. I don't know where Spiff is going. He's heading for a rotate. I'm going to try to approach this from a different position, which to me feels like the right call, but Mystic, everyone has to be behind this. They cannot make individual plays. We saw how that was so punishing sometimes on Chalet.
When you're incapable of working together with your team, maybe a lack of chemistry, not being totally prepared for the situation, whatever it may be, if you're incapable of working together with your team to accomplish the result that you're looking for, then it's on you. It's on your group as a whole. And for a map like Consulate that is not played that often, it's probably one of the least scrimmed maps. I think you can probably agree with me on that aspect, Sticula, because it's just not played that often. It's very difficult to maintain a super high level of that chemistry, but both of these rosters are well regimented. I mean, obviously, Team Assault had to get picked up for a reason. They're looking good. I'm sure they're making their org proud. And Asian gets the tap on both as one steps through main door. Watch this at the moment. He tags the player stepping through door at the exact moment before he kills the player running inside. Oh my God, that was unprecedented. Did not anticipate that. I am gushing about that play.
For a moment there, I just didn't believe it. I didn't know how he could possibly get that kill. I saw the feed, I saw all the kills, but he hit him with a single bullet. That is an Asian play. Man, that's the reason why he has his Twitch username as Asian is Cracked, because he is that player. He just is that good.
That looked insane. I am gushing. I am smiling still about that. That was amazing. We need that replay of that ASAP because that was gorgeous. Can we get it like super slow mode and like zoomed in on that exact moment, like all the players who complain in CS about getting CS code or in Valorant about being righted or whatever the heck you want to call it in each game. But like you shoot and you're on the target, but then you miss entirely for some reason. That's one of those moments where you do not miss. I don't think that was anticipated at all. It literally was way too good of a play. Asian did not deserve that, to be fair. He's a great player. I 100% agree with you. Asian is insane. Asian is cracked. That was not anticipated. I'm super. Oh, man, I can't stop smiling, Stick. That was awesome. Oof. Now, Stick, as we're heading down to this basement objective again for Team Assault on their last foyer, Maxley is indeed once again going for that play with the Electro Claw. This time focusing on just 2 of the walls and not trying to get all 3 by playing it through the floorboards. That's the correct approach, isn't it?
No, I think he got all 3.
He did he got the one on the left with a different Electro
Right.
Claw.
Yeah, he didn't use one Electro Claw to get all 3
yes,
because
exactly.
that is not the recipe for success. But the Twitch drum from Eddie, I think, actually cleared the right side Electro Claw. Yep, it looks like it did. Exothermic will go down. Wall is open, and Gunner is in a bit of a pickle. The Thermite does not aggress forward. The angle is fairly limited. Both Electro Claws have been cleared. Are you kidding me? I guess I get that the Twitch drone got buffed recently, but
oh, it's good.
Still, maybe
I called it out for basement on Chalet. It's gonna be the same process here.
Oh, Gunner's gonna impact trick? Come on, come on. Oh, but he gets pushed through. He won't have enough time. He tosses it. Oh, but it's a half second too late. A moment more, and Gunner might have been able to turn that play from a kill against Eddie into another one in a denial of utility. Poison will trade him out in that regard. He says, you tried to break my exothermic, now I'm going to break your heart and I'm going to gun you down. What a way to get going here. The trade is 1 for 1. Now you got the Renegade reactivated, so that'll be a certain help as well. There should be another Surya gate to the left of the wall if Asian can just spot it. I think the angle will be tough, but he does manage it. And now that's reactivated. So the angle of approach here is going to be limited, and that matters even more so in this situation, Scott, where you have the Miras up, and you only have one area that you need to pre-fire unless they waste it again.
And Team Assault's doing a much better job in this round than they did prior, where you do see that Mystic was able to take one in a pretty dominant fashion. They were able to buy even further time, and that's what they need to do. Unfortunately, though, Asian's going to lose the fight, but Maxley's not going to lose it this time. Taking out Poison, peeking around from behind that Black Mirror. Spiff will begin the process to plant the diffuser. Nitro will be tossed, will be done in time. It misses, but it's close enough to deal damage. Thoughtwinner will find Ash and immediately refragged back by Tones. A post-plant situation, and this Mystic roster can just stay outside. Just hang out in the cool breeze of the summer air and wait. Buy their time to work with. Glass JJ will begin the process of defusing.
Oh no!
He's sticking it, but he finally gets denied by Spiff. Trying to get the last player. Tones finds Maxley. And this round will go in favor of the attacking team. Mystic will take it, but we were mere moments, Sticula, away from that defuse actually going through.
That was something. What a way to do it there for Team Assault. Just almost had it. JJ could have held on. That's just so tough. That is just... Oh, you hate to see it, man. First, the impact trick. If the Maestro was just that faster, that much quicker, he could have got it in it. And then JJ tries to go for the defuse. The angle isn't there from outside the garage. But the savior, the Sledge, as he rushes down Yellow, a huge play to make sure that half does not end with an advantage for Team Assault.
Well, obviously a 3-3 half. When was the last time we saw this, Stick? Wasn't it map 1 on Clubhouse where we saw it go 3-3, and then Mystic on the defense just slaughtered, literally gave up one round in that half, an almost near perfect sweep of that second half. I think there's an option. I think there's something there to be had for Team Assault to try and work on the attack. And obviously Ashen is a little bit better about getting those up and situated, and it gets all of those handled pretty swiftly as he gets it done in the actual preparation phase, and probably doesn't have to worry about it for a while. But Team Assault, they've got a Jackal to work with, this time not being banned down, and so you will have to face the very dangerous experience that is that, not BDWE to C7E instead, but it doesn't seem to matter because Gunner on the Assault finds Ashen as they attempted that spawn peek and will inevitably make this a 4v5 extremely early in this round.
A decent way to get this one going. Don't have to worry about any late Nitro plays. Asian with another kill, and that's the Echo. Pretty invaluable operator. No more control of those yokais, and specifically that Sonic Blast to be able to stop the diffuser plant from carrying on. Honestly, Scott, if Team Assault can clear out Projector, they might just move forward. Those red footprints will be a real result, but look at that! Toads walks right around the corner. He comes up from behind, and Asian is not ready for it. The Vigil will drop down, and he gets trided as Felt is sending it in deep. Gonna try to work the vertical, I imagine. There goes Eddie, though. Creeping in up above. We'll hear the audio signature of the breaching charge detonating, but if Spiff goes down, Team Assault might just have the cojones to say, let's rush the site. Let's get in there. Let's get in the midst. And if Eddie is too far off, he might not be able to support it or stop it in time against 4 capable attacking opponents.
Dangerous position. Eddie does find one onto Feltwinter. Now needs to be wary, but the player towards Yellow Stairs will drop a quick little Nitro Cell to try and ensure a possibility to gain silence from below, but instead pulls out the super in the pocket, gets one with it as well, taking out JJ. That's got to be demoralizing, but a post-plant situation nonetheless as Gunner on the second floor hanging out in console. Needs to be wary as Eddie's going to make the rotation, pushes forward, Vector in hand, hop on it and tease it. He's going to start walking forward, sees the feet through the drone hole, and just takes the shot, but it's not going to be him that gets the kill. It's from above, death from above, so to say. We're out here Assassin's Creeding it. It'll be handled pretty swiftly. Team Assault take that round in a almost completely lopsided affair there, as it did come down to a pretty dire straits of a 4v1.
Well, I say it and it comes true. The Maestro has a lot of tasks that he needs to accomplish on the bomb side, and in that chaos, he gets found out. Team Assault try to push in, and Eddie I can't fault him. There was a lot that he had to do, and the pressure of the case coming down as well. It's hard to make the right call in each and every one of those moments to transition, from initially dropping down, trying to work the flank, trying to take out the player at the yellow stairs, and now that Team Assault knew that he was up there, it's just a matter of time. And, the mirror got close. I mean, the fraction of time has been a pretty big, sort of motif in this second half of this game, or in the game entirely, I guess, to be honest with you. And JJ came very close to dying, and that case might have not gone down, but JJ and his abilities as a support player, let's say, his confidence to know that his team is covering him, and his resilience to continue planting, I guess we could word that one. He didn't fake it, he didn't get off because he knew there was a player up above. That's really the sign of a high caliber player. And JJ gave his team another leg up, because in that 1 versus 2, if the plant wasn't down, to be honest with you, Scott, I think that round probably plays out a little differently.
I can't disagree. Obviously, that round result wasn't necessarily what Mystic were anticipating, and I don't think this round's going to go in that direction either. They have a little bit more of an offshoot. It seems to be a very centralized focus on this eastern side for this Team Assault's entrance, and Sticula, at this point in time, they've got to do a very good job of taking control of Visa, because if they're incapable of getting rid of Tones and a good safety net, they're not going to have a good time stepping inwards. And obviously, with one player already going down, Impact will be tossed, and Feltwinter will narrowly escape with their life, as they were able to narrowly get out of the range of that impact going off to finish them off. And it's still a 5v5 in effect, mostly going to still be a 5v5 because Feltwinter is completely in the clear to get revived, though will be at about 20 HP upon the pickup, which means, yes, Feltwinter can still get kills and still use their utility to max potential, but cannot take basically any damage in the process, or else face the wrath of getting finished off quite swiftly. So with Mystic now 2 minutes left, they bought some time. Eddie's looking to finish off one, doesn't even get a bit of damage off in the process, but it doesn't seem to matter just yet. So we're coming now down to the last minute and 45 seconds. The first kill will finally drop as Ashen throws the nitro and gets the kill onto Gunner, stopping a little bit and slowing the assault of this Team Assault.
In the garage reattempt, things are looking a little slow so far for Team Assault. Use some of that vertical pressure as well. Try to threaten Mystic inside of Cafeteria. Feltwinter on low HP. Poison hiding in the corner. You'll remember in the previous round, Thiago was up here in their composition, but he got picked off upstairs. He was in a very awkward position. He was sort of trying to roam, to be honest, and it didn't work out. Now he's back up. Ooh, but JJ with the position from inside circle desk. Tones was a little bit too focused on the bathroom. He didn't expect the Japanese operator to still kind of be coming in from grass. Poison to collect against one. Feltwinter low HP, and Eddie now for a headshot there against the hard breach. Feltwinter probably not going to be able to win this one. It's looking like a 4-4 tying up of the match. Feltwinter thinking about maybe some kind of drop-down Swanton bomb from the circle desk hatch.
Excuse me?
Spots the head of the Mira, but if he had maybe pre-fired that, he probably would have came away with it and made this a more winnable situation. But as Eddie aggresses forward, and Sophia just isn't quite prepared.
Strictly, what did you just say?
Swanton bomb? It's like a wrestling move.
Yeah.
My brother was really into it, so I kind of picked up on some of it.
Your brother was into it.
You don't know any of them? Like the pile driver.
I know there was one move that was like.
What's the one that John Cena does? You can't see me. I forget the name. Of that
that's
move.
just his thing, right?
That's his finisher.
That's not his finisher, is it? I don't know what it is. I know there's one move that was actually brought into the UFC one time that was really funny. It was on Korean Zombie's first intro, and he pulled a WWE move and actually got a submission out of it. Everyone was like, yeah, there's no way. This is scripted. Like, it was funny as all get out. I'm looking at this like, no way that works. But he just torqued the back enough. The guy patted. I was like, dang, how does he get away with this? You know? But I mean, in all honesty, you can say whatever you want. I'm just going to judge you slightly because it was kind of funny. But Mystic walking away, a 4-on-4 now, as you do see the scoreline is tied up. And it's a lot more even than I guess you anticipated, because what did you predict here, Stick? You predicted, what, a 7-4 margin? 7-3 margin. So that has officially been broken. And so all respect for Sticula for the rest of this matchup. Out the window for that. So highly unfortunate, Sticula. I'm sorry to break it to you, but you are the weakest link.
Well, you know, part of me was predicting that result, so I would kind of, in a way, curse it, and maybe we would get overtime, because I want overtime. I mean, hey, we can't have a grand final and not get into OT. That would just be, that wouldn't be right. On peak attempt by Tones, he's off target. Just trying to see if he can crouch down and crawl away without getting taken out. One of those moments where the play goes wrong and you just hope that you can survive. He'll do it again. He tries it once more, and another time where he's off target, and he still can't complete the kill.
A little demoralizing, I'd say, but it looks like Tones is looking to find one more, looking for the option, unable to find it as they both pass by, completely unscathed in the process, as Feltwinter will begin the process of droning out, looking to step in towards that yellow staircase. Maxley's up above on balcony, is repelling, hoping to maybe catch one player off guard. Could have maybe caught Eddie and taken away that angle just yet, but it looks to be that 4-team assault, the fact that they're bringing a Ying to the table. I think that there's a bit of expectation in my mind for how they're going to attack this, and they really need to put a heavy emphasis on taking and making use of these Candelas, because we've seen it before. We saw Ashen bring that Warden on map 2, and then we saw Gunnar play the Ying prior, and unfortunately for, you know, the side of Team Assault, that Ying did nothing. They died to the Warden. It was a pretty funny situation, and the neighbor picked her back up again, even though I absolutely love Ying, and I want to see her get played because she's extremely viable, especially in the current meta, with Warden being slightly less picked, and Flash is being exceedingly strong with the current buffs that came through. So, Sticula, this bathroom push, Candela being denied by an ADS, but it doesn't seem to matter too long. Eddie finds Gunnar, who is repelled. Spiff take out Asian, and a 5v3 with Mystic, 2 men up, 1 minute and 15 seconds left.
Yeah, they've really been pushed back off the bomb site so far. JJ loses his life. Vigil is spotted, and it's actually the pulse, but Ashen wins that despite a severe firepower disadvantage. Feltwinter's second kill comes inside the objective, and now his third will erupt there as well. Ashen searching for any cardiac signs of life through the floor. Feltwinter does not have the case, though. Without possession of the diffuser, he really holds, well, not a lot of leverage here against Mystic. Bulletproof camera will spot him out. I don't even really know where the case is at this moment, and I doubt Feltwinter has really checked it out yet. Oh, but he spots one. That'll be Ashen, who jumps past and drops the hatch. Feltwinter must have had a call with this reaction as he tries to rush back down. Coming within Piano, 25 seconds to go. Surely there's no way without the case. One behind the bomb chassis. Position is obscured. Feltwinter doesn't look like he's aware of it. Ashen will try to pop up. They're aware. Feltwinter, he's pushing onwards. He's got the M762, and he'll take the headshot for the quad. 6 seconds left. Eddie's gonna play above. Feltwinter without the case, there's nothing that he can do. Despite the 4 kills, he can't find the last one.
Oh, that's gotta hurt so bad, Stick, to go all the way, carrying that heavily, doing everything possible to get the job done, but incapable of finishing it off because of a smart decision to stay still and stay out of sight. Staying up on that second floor in meeting does exactly what they need to do, and it is perfection incarnate, Stick. I cannot believe that there was a possibility for Feltwinter to come in and get an ace in that position, but just slightly, ever so slightly denied by the patience that came through from Mystics. And that patience has been something we've been seeing throughout this entire game. We saw a 2v1 earlier in map 1 that had the same level of patience, that they just held out and did what they needed to do. And I believe we saw one in map 3, but I think that was actually in favor of Team Assault, if I remember correctly. So we've seen opportunities for that, and we've seen patience be key. And man, I don't think I've ever seen a level of patience be so key in a position that is just so frustrating to watch, where an ace is so close, but is ultimately denied by good positioning and just buying for time. So great round for Mystic. They're now up by 1, a 5-4. Mystic still on their defensive side, playing extremely well with it. Particularly, we still have a game on our hands. They're fighting for everything.
Another one of these positions where if one team, Mystic, can advance forward and can really capitalize on some form here on this split site defense, they'll be on match point, and they will be ahead, really, in every regard for the first time since all the way back on Clubhouse. It's been a grueling 3 maps from Coastline to Villa to Chalet. But they have still held on, and the gas tank has not run dry. That's a huge pick. Gunnar can be, in some moments, that player who spots the weakness, who finds the chink in the armor. And now your hard breach is gone as well. Not the biggest part of this split site defense, but if you combine that with the loss of Gunnar, your options are really looking low. I think really the play here is going to have to be something where Team Assault just take their guns and try to run rampant and just try to explode into the objective, because they don't have a lot to do anything otherwise. I mean, they don't really have enough time to go for a full clear. Maybe if they all committed and they went upstairs now, they could think about doing it, but it won't really matter much when you don't have your sledge to pressure on the vertical.
I brought the question up earlier, is what can Mystic do to deny Team Assault from going for those pincers, getting those crossfires, and ultimately denying Mystic any chance to play in fights, because that's where Mystic has been winning, when they are able to deny crossfires and pincers from Team Assault. And I think the biggest factor is, as you had mentioned, that Mystic had a very good chance of winning if that occurred. And the way they've been able to do that in this last few rounds is to just play smart, and key in this round, just win your gunfights. Get rid of 2 of them, and now you're in a situation where there are no pincers to be had. There's not enough players to do the pincer, and he's just laying down, firing, does not care at all about the position, just sprays and prays on the ground, keeps the gun tilted, keeps the job up, and the Alda will finish things off in the hands of Spiff, I believe. And Mystic take a flawless victory and now lead us into match points. No chance for pincers, no chance for crossfires. Team Assault are forced to funnel in to the last remaining players of Mystic, all 5 of them, and not a single kill was gathered for them.
I mean, just wow. What a showing there. Great play. I was worried for a second when the Zofia, she's running out of ammunition. She's got a pre-fire. Then she bounces. She gets the nitro, which I think deserves a little bit of credit in that own regard. Still tries to work it back, but the prone angle, the amount of time that you have to spend, transitioning from wherever the pre-aim was at head height, or I think in that situation just crouch level, getting it all the way down to the ground, takes, it takes a little bit of time. And if the Pulse was ready, all he's got to do is just kind of hold down the trigger. And as well, the Pulse, he didn't mow them all down. He didn't get all 3 of those kills. It was the support of his teammate there, Scott, that really elevated that play and allowed them to hold out on the split defense, which now puts them on series and championship title point here in the Unified Premier League Summer 2021 season.
And this is a very important match point as well for Mystic. I mean, this is $1,200 on the line. Second place is taking less than half of that, $500. And yes, third place has been guaranteed. They're going to get their share, $300 to their name. But, I mean, this $2,000 prize pool, there's a huge difference between first and second. And no team wants to take that lesser amount, so to say. And I think that Mystic are really trying to fight for their life to take this extra bit of money. These are so many chances to buy packs and get yourself another Black Ice skin. I mean, come on. I've been seeing a distinct lack of Black Ice on the side of Mystic. Maybe they just haven't been winning enough tourneys, enough leagues to get that extra little bit of cash flow to get those, alpha packs. Or maybe they're buying other games. I mean, who knows what the reason may be or what they're doing, but yes, Stick.
You're a little bit out of touch there, because you can't buy alpha packs with real money.
You used to be able to. You
the
do
seasonal pack.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true. You're right. Yeah, you're right. Technically, yeah, that's so strange. I mean, I distinctly remember you being able to do that. Man, I am out of touch,
I think the idea is they don't want to make it like pay to win, like,
I guess it's true, yeah.
Not gambling, but sort of gambling. That was
Rocket League had a big problem with that, yeah.
When the game launched, we didn't have the BDUs.
Yeah.
And we didn't have alpha packs. when they were at it, it was very controversial, but the way that Ubisoft kind of smoothed that over was by not allowing you to purchase them. Anyway, back to the game.
Yeah, I haven't done that in so long, so my brain's still back in year one, man. I'm not even kidding. But yeah, 4v5 situation. Tones is the first to lose his life, and Team Assault are looking to try and keep this thing a little bit closer to the chest as they find their first kill. And Eddie's ready with an Nitro. You have your Gemini Replicator inside, immediately shot out by Eddie, who jiggle peeks that side, and Gunner will now begin the vertical assault that can go forward, trying to move players from their currently turtled up positions, and in hopes of being able to maybe find one in the process. But man, Team Assault are very, very wary to step inside. They may have the man advantage, but there's Yokais, there's the Black Mirrors, there's Evil Eyes. There's so much they still have to face off against. It might not be worth it to go until they completely just solidify their vertical assault.
Hear some of the shots rattle out as Ashen is trying his best to sort of stave off this pressure coming in from the Yellow Stairs side. Sees the Iana, but that would have been a replicator there. Gotta be a tense moment here when you're on Grand Finals point and you spot one of those replicators. It's always a scary experience. Where's Eddie going? He challenges forward here, Scott, and Mystic, they're out of Nitro cells. Poison is left up. JJ will start to attempt the plant. Poison's not on his Yokais, though. He's got his gun out. JJ will try to double back. Still thinking about working the vertical. They're gonna try to pressure this from up above, and I think the call to fall back from the plant is the one to make here in this moment. Ashen will find a kill, and he brings it back to even. Mystic's chances looking better. 3 kills left to get. Ashen exposed to Gunner, though, who will move in, assuming that very same position as he's trying to isolate anyone, see if Mystic are out of position and can be caught. But the chance of denying the plant is slim, and Spiff just has to go for it. He has to run forward. He won't get there in time, and he loses out in that moment. Challenging up, there's another one. Gunner still playing from the vertical, but he's being shot at from the yellow door, checking every corner. Gunner from the prone for the first, and he pops up to get the 4th. Team Assault will hold on. One more round. Number 12, here we come.
They are looking fantastic. They're not done just yet. A bit of a clapback towards the end there. I was getting a little worried there, Stick, as the ammo was short to be running short inside of that magazine as they just kept spraying and essentially praying as they pre-fired that angle so exceptionally, but it was enough to get the job done. Mystic, their inability to keep the Yokais alive, to deny that post-plant and to really use it to full effect, and the same thing with the Evil Eyes in the process. I mean, Team Assault may have taken their sweet time of doing so, and anyone that was not aware of the Yokais were not able to be used to massive effect would have been worried for them, because a single Yokai hit would have stopped the plant and actually would have not been enough time for them to get the job done. So Team Assault with a narrow victory, but a victory nonetheless in a pretty ecstatic fashion at the end. Now 1 round away from leading us into overtime, Stick. The first one we'll see, and what a better map to do it on. The last map in a best of 5. Team Assault are in dire need of taking this, and it's going to be an extremely important round, as they were able to win it once. Mystic will run right back to the same objective in hopes that they can't win it twice.
Man, I'm hoping for overtime here. I would not be satisfied if this game goes home with a 7-5. I mean, what a story it would be for Mystic to have some real tough struggles. They were really looking out of form on Villa and Chalet, and there were a couple of issues that came through. Chalet, towards the end, they fixed them, and they were able to make sure that this was not a 4-map best of 5, that we got the entirety of the spread in a best of 5 grand final. But Garage has really determined a lot on this map so far. It was the last round that we saw right at the end of the first half, which was a pretty tense one. I mean, a lot of these moments have felt like match point energy is really carried behind them, you know, in the way that the clutch comes down, where it's the last player, the case is there, the pressure is really in. And Team Assault, if they can get that case down again, or maybe it's a moment where they feel that's not the right decision to make, they have to trust their gut instinct. And I think that's what's going to be what ultimately decides this one here. Who's got the most experience, who's got the right game sense, and what they can do to stave it off.
Obviously, a very effective Twitch drone does go through. He will be shot immediately afterwards, which does remove that little bit of information and the ability, the utility to remove any further, but it gets the job done, allows them to open up the northern wall, both 2 of those northern walls, and will allow for them to have a really big hole coming right up as the exothermic charge will detonate and give this Team Assault a sightline into the objective. However, you've still got 2 players sitting inside security, A Black Mirror there at the ready. 2 players sitting inside Cafeteria ready as well. And Ashen still playing with that cardiac sensor in hopes of denying verticality, but in all honesty, it didn't work out for them prior, and Ashen has already thrown the Nitro Cell. Not sure yet if it has been actually detonated. I don't think it has. He's actually pre-tossed it and is waiting for the opportunity, but the first kill will drop in favor of Mystic as Eddie finds a headshot kill with a Vector to Felt. Winter will go to the wayside. Ashen with that Nitro. It had not been detonated. Does find Gunner waiting for the opportunity. A 5v3 Team Assault are hemorrhaging in these last few moments. They are looking down the barrel of this Mystic defense. Looking almost insurmountable odds here, Stick, as the last minute starts to come to fruition. Team Assault have everything to go for. Defuse starts to go down, will bait it. He does not finish it as naturally peeks on the corner, does find one head, takes out Spiff. Now in a dangerous position, finds a second on the Tones! A 3v3 Stick as the last 50 seconds come underway. Team Assault have brought it back just a little bit closer.
Really starting to ease some of those tensions. You'll see the pulse draw back. Ashen is aware. He hears the audio cue. Knows that there's one above, so he will try to hide away and find a place that isn't so vulnerable. But Asian is using that vertical opening to drop down smokes to protect their planter. The yokai has not yet been dealt with, and that will become a bit of an issue that needs to be dealt with. Another yokai moves through, and it's great on the time. There's 20 seconds to go, and Max is having trouble finding it. The pulse will move through. That's his third. Drawing back, but he's caught in the reload. It's denied again. The yokai being so effective. And Asian, he's got to come back. He's against 2, but he won't get the mirror, and that's Eddie to do it. Mystic are your champions here in the summer season. What a best of 5 through the distance, and Mystic prevail in the end.
Mystic are able to come out on top, and Eddie not just being the MVP of that game for that map, they were the MVP of that round, ultimately stopping the assault that Team Assault were bringing to the table, denying the plant, getting a kill on Yellow Stairs, denying the rotation back. I mean, what more could you ask from one player? Eddie was a player that wasn't necessarily your go-to fragger in a lot of these rounds, and a lot of these maps, so to say, as it was typically Ashen, Tones. They were the ones who were stepping up. I've mentioned them way too many times, I feel like, but they were just gunning where they needed to, but Eddie shows up where you need to. Not the fragger you need in every round, but will be there when you do need them. And that's exactly what happened. Mystic stopping Team Assault's attempt at taking us into that infinite overtime. And we will, in fact, see Mystic take it. Just when we start saying that Team Assault are going to start winning in our prediction stick, they don't. And they're incapable of doing so. And Mystic will ultimately take that victory for their piece of that riveted $2,000 prize pool. Mystic walk away with $1,200.
I mean, that's got to be a huge win for them. And it sucks because they're walking away, and this isn't a team anymore. This Mystic squad, they are not playing with each other. Team Mystic, as they were formerly known, have some of these players, but not all of them. Notably Poison, I think he's gone LFT. He's trying to reach out to Challenger League opportunities to see if maybe he can come in for CL Stage 1 after he turns 18. And, you know, hey, that sucks, but unfortunately that's what happened. Mystic played better, and just like the spring final, none of these games go into overtime. They're all decided in regulation, and what a thrilling end there on Consulate.
You couldn't ask for a better ending, and obviously we're going to be talking about what's to come in the future as well. Mystic will take their W, but all top 4 of our teams, as we'll take a look at our bracket, which I know is available to us here, all 4 of the top 4 teams will be making it into the next season for UPL. And speaking of that next season, a big important factor is obviously signups. You need to be able to sign up for UPL. It is a $50 entry fee. There's open qualifiers September 27th through the 29th, and obviously October 4th through October 6th. So UPL is looking forward to even more teams signing up, more things to work with, and more teams to compete against this Mystic roster, which unfortunately isn't actually going to be a thing, I don't think, Stick. As you mentioned, they're a bit of a pug stack right now, a pump stack, and while they do have access to it, I think they still need to maintain 3 out of the 5 on their roster to maintain that slot. So maybe a bit of a mute point in terms of that contention.
Yeah, I don't know how the rules work, but it's those 4 semifinalist teams that you'll see go forward. Maybe Mystic, maybe not. I don't know how that would work if like it's a runoff, like if they disband then the 5th place team gets it, or if instead we'll just have the 12 teams coming from open qualifiers bumped up to 13. Either way, we'll have that decided at a later date. But we'd really like to see you guys contribute and try to come in and compete for the next season. There's a couple different ways that you can get that various piece of information. Number one, you can go to Unified Premier on Twitter and you can look at the top tweet that they have pinned. That'll give you all the sign up information. It'll have everything that Scott talked about, you know, with dates, schedules, formats, all that stuff that you need to know so you're prepared. And then I think we've got a chat command as well. It should be R6 apply, exclamation mark R6 apply, if you'd like to get that little message as well there. I'm sure one of our chat moderators can help you out if you have any more questions. But man, we've had a really good final. I was happy with some of the things that we had in the summer season. Fortunately, there was a lot of forfeit games. Even in the postseason, we had some games that, you know, teams just didn't show up for. But hey, man, that's T3 R6. That's the way it goes here in the amateur North American scene, and you can't get away from that sometimes. So make sure that you, as we mentioned, go and apply. If you've got a team, if you've been practicing, get ready for the fall season because we would love to see you here. But that's all from us tonight. I've been Sticula, my co-commentator Infernosis, our awesome producer Tango Mango Down, and as well our observer behind the screen, Nova. Until next time, we'll see you when the fall season comes around. Farewell.
Sagare